I'm looking at the stream. I'm not. It's come through yet. Oh.
Hey. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Sorry about that, guys. That was very last minute of me. I forgot that I had to run the stream today because Spoon's not here. So, whoops. I kind of got things set up a little bit. I haven't run OBS in a while. But there we go.
The mace got the job done in the end, boys.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Yeah, we should be good now. Okay, so looks like we're going to war. Hooray. Yeah, happy 2003. Aw, shit. Here we go again.
New boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, new boss, same as the old boss. Lovely, isn't it? Well, we'll have to see what happens there. I asked Scrump about this, and I just said, like, you know, how does it feel to be completely vindicated on the return to freedom fries thing? Because that's apparently what's happening. We're right back to 2001, 2003, that era. We need a regime change in Iran. Obviously, this is the most important thing.
Apparently not completely satisfied with them changing who's technically in power every fucking 3 weeks.
Right,
considering that the Ayatollah has been a figurehead at best for the past 10 years, and the president's not much better. So, Prime Minister's not much better. Hasn't been relevant since Ahmadinejad, who is now dead, considering the Israelis assassinated him and his wife.
Right.
But by the way, like I can understand taking out like okay, first of all, killing like ostensibly politicians is already shaky territory when it comes to military operations. Generally speaking, you know, civilian personnel you want to take alive.
Yeah.
However, assassinating like previous like prime ministers and such and retired politicians. I'm not sure what degree of retired Ahmadinejad was, but he was in power donkey's years ago for years and years. So you must be getting a bit long on the tooth to be, you know, having to contend with drones. Apparently I'm a bit quiet.
Yeah, I just saw that. Go ahead. Okay, sorry. Like I said, I'm still getting stuff a little bit set up. I don't know why it did that. It keeps doing this weird thing.
If ever you can't hear me, just listen to the background of Aiden's stream, because sometimes you can hear me pick up on her microphone, because hers is nicer than mine.
Well, Bill's got my old microphone. Well, it's like my travel mic, the Blue Snowball. But yeah, actually, I don't know why. Why don't you just use my extra Rode? We should just do that.
Well, this would have been pertinent to bring up like a year ago when you got like no longer than that. Like you've had it like 2 years.
I know, because I thought I had to replace it, but it turned out it was a problem with my computer, not the microphone. Very cool. Anywho, that's unrelated. However, before we get to the, you know, Israel-Iran thing, which just before we started, there was the full interview, whatever you want to call it, sit down between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz just happened. I figured we'd spend a good portion of the stream just watching that, since that has just occurred. But
from what I have been told from people who have seen it so far, they don't think Ted's been involved in a murder that nasty since the 70s.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. However,
I don't even think the Zodiac Killer meme is gonna save him on this one. He got took, from what I have been told at least. I'm not in the know as to what the contents were. He got taken to the cleaners.
I mean, it's astonishing to see though the speed and force with which the boomer truth regime reestablishes itself. I mean, Twitter is just instantaneously full of boomerish, boomer behavior warhawks. Never seen a war they didn't want to go into so much. Well, a war they want you to go into so much.
Hurley, don't worry. I'm not sure there's also been some influences as someone's brought up the esteemed Mr. Hurley bringing up Melanie Mack deciding to take the Israeli dollar, because guess what? The Israelis are hiring. I believe it's like $500 per interaction or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she does it for free though. There's plenty who do.
That's always the saddest ones.
Yeah.
No one likes a janitor.
Well, look, I mean,
they do it for free, you know.
The whole idea is that where Melanie Mack is coming from there, and a lot of people are sort of, or at least pretending to. Holy shit! Whoa, Deans, thank you so much for 20 Broken Crown memberships. Whoa, man, thank you. God damn, let's fucking go.
Goodness me, that's that Spyro avatar. There's no pocket watching in these parts.
Hell yeah, man. The thing though that I see with that's very consistent with that, the messaging at least, is that, oh, if you're a good Christian, you have to support Israel. There's no question there, because Israel's our allies. Israel are, you know, we're so back, he says. Dean's remember for 6 months. We're so back to an endless wars in the Middle East. Yeah, we are so back. So
I'm gonna be real with you, folks. I don't think the Iranian regime's got that much in this proverbial gas tank to really be surviving. They were on tender fucking throws before.
Well, let's just talk about the basic ridiculousness of this, which we'll get into in more detail, though. But the absurdity of, oh, well, we have to go to war with Iran to protect America's greatest ally in the entire world. Israel, of course, our bestest friend.
Those people who start a bunch of wars and then never seem to actually fight in them.
Well, was it you who asked this question or posed this question to me the other day, or I don't remember who did, which was, I think it was you, which is, if you're trying to understand, just ask boomers, why do you support Israel? Because it is interesting to I think, see their answers. And I got an interesting answer from Scrump when I talked to him about it earlier today, which is that it's not Israel as a country, it's what Israel represents to boomers as part of their understanding of the world, right? It's not actually Israel as a nation or as a country or a culture or anything like that. It's that the world that they benefited so much from is a world in which a lot of Jewish people are in power. Even though do you understand what I mean? So they have this sort of affinity towards Jewish people, and even though there's a vast gulf and difference between American Jews and Israeli Jews, you know, yeah,
because
there's the Holy Land
because
stuff
the
too.
boomers were given the earth on a platter, and they associate Jewish command with that. So it's a Pavlovian response. If I back the Jews, I will get more nice things. I'll continue to live beyond my means.
I think that's essentially it. I hadn't really thought of it in that sense because, well, I'm always trying to understand the psychology.
I think it's the idea of Israel as a bastion of the West, quote unquote, in the Middle East. It's the idea that that place can be tamed.
Well, except
and
for
that,
other people
not just that,
before,
it is a
West.
Yeah, but it is a monument to the kindness of NATO. It's this
what an oxymoron.
Yeah, it's like, look, they were people wronged by our enemies. We gave them a place to call their own. We gave them back their ancestral homeland. Please excuse me, also vomit into my own eyeballs. But that's, I believe, the idea that it is a monument to their perceived generosity. It is the picture of Ubuntu and Kunta Kinte on the mantelpiece because they sponsored children in fucking Ebola-stan or wherever the fuck.
Yeah,
it's the exact same thing. That's why they say why you sell so many $2 a month charity schemes. Why you can sell you could sell salmon to the Arabs as long as they were still boomers.
Right. And it was more. I was also just sort of thinking about boomer thought, because this is all wrapped up in very boomer thought, which is part of that same fervor for Israel, having given in their perspective, the Jewish people and or Israel, which are inexorably tied in their brain, have given them things. They also want in loyalty, not so much, but more so to maintain their status of living. They are very supportive of Israel, but also it's because with all of these things, with the boomer mindset, because it's not just a generational thing, right? It's not limited to people born within a certain time frame. And in fact, as Scrump also brought up in our conversation about it, the whole idea of this intergenerational conflict is something that basically begins by labeling boomers as boomers, or them labeling themselves. The idea, and that of course differentiates them from previous generations and also from subsequent ones. And that's why you get all this intergenerational conflict that really didn't exist as a concept before World War II. Well, post-World War II world. Is that it's always with somebody else's goods. They're willing to go fight with someone else's blood, someone else's money. And they'll reap the rewards, in the process, which is pretty, I think that's very telling of getting into the mindset of it. Because again, I always like to come at things from polls and surveys and research, but the problem with so much of this is that you can't really get it. The truth, people won't really tell you, because I don't think the boomers understand this shit themselves. They don't know why they support Israel. That's why you asked that question, or you said to pose that question to them. Why do you support Israel so much? Why? And I think the reason you normally get is, yeah, they're our only ally because it's the Holy Land, something like that. Even though, again, European countries have occupied the Holy Land, Rome quite famously. But, you know, throughout history, obviously, it's not... the idea of Israel as in a modern national sense is fairly recent. But let me see, I wanted to make this. Rap Bartholomew Cheesington for 5 says, who is more undesirable, African-American women or Indian men? Vote now and get a free nothing. Also, my bad for hoping Akir gets badly hurt. No, not at all. But let me see. Let's see. What was that? Indian men or African-American women? I can't hear you, Bill.
So who is more undesirable specifically?
Yes.
Clear for folks. You don't want people voting for the wrong thing.
Right.
Whilst you're sorting that out, Josiah Streetman for $5. Christian Zionism and dispensational eschatology are both really stupid theology stances, and Teddy C makes a fool of himself by assuming them default.
Yes. Or so I've heard. We're going to watch that. But
okay, just so we're clear with the poll, that is, you must pick one, and you must be with either an Indian man or an African-American woman.
Yes. So,
okay, so
I know that the audience
positive.
is largely men, so I think that's really going to tip the scales in favor of African-American women. Women plural.
Okay, let's say you must be in a room with them.
Yeah.
Be in the room with one.
You have to be in. Okay, yes. Well, that's kind of going to skew it now. You have to pick one.
Yeah,
but
you
sure,
have to
be
pick
in
one.
the room with it. Be in the room with
that's
it.
ostensibly what it is. That's ostensibly what it
is.
Goodness me.
That's not what I meant.
I have said way worse on this podcast. If that doesn't get clipped, but if that gets clipped and none of the shit I've said does, fuck the lot of you. You're all a bunch of fucking turncoats.
That was actual just mistake. All right, I thought we'd start with this sort of, obviously Iran, Israel is the current thing, but we're going to get into that. So let's start with some of the older things that are now not the current thing, which, let's see, where does this...
Hang on a second. Dusty, don't you blame me for the tippy tapping. That is hers. I use push to talk.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Because I'm a functioning member of society.
Well, I can't do that. I'd have to turn it off on OBS and stuff at this point.
That's why I got the mouse with all the MMO settings on it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I thought we'd start with the sort of last remnants now, the no Kangs protests and the things that are happening in LA, which I assume have all been very quickly wrapped up and put away to respond to this stuff in Iran. But, of course, Mark Ruffalo came out in his fucking hat with immigrant on it. This is just insufferable.
Dressed as the cancer that killed Norm Macdonald.
This man is a massive millionaire, you know, famous for starring in popcorn and chocolate slop movies. Which, look, I used to like Marvel. I really like Marvel comics, even old ones, for the most part. But yeah, let's see what he has to say.
It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires.
Well, oh, is it not? It's not millionaires like yourself, though, is it, Mark?
We're seeing what's happening. First of all, we're understanding that the immigrants aren't the criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of the crimes that are committed in this country are by white people.
Share turned off.
What? Oh, sorry. Hang on. I'm not screen sharing with you. Yeah, sorry about that. My bad. There we go.
Thank you very much.
Whoopsie. Now Bill can see it. Whoops. Anyway.
Hooray! My eyes, they work again.
Sorry. I'll go back then so you can see it as well, Bill. Here we go.
It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires. Well, we're seeing what's happening. First of all, we're understanding that the immigrants aren't the criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of the crimes that are committed in this country are by white people.
Oh, really? Really? In a majority white country, you don't say.
Per capita's a hell of a fucking thing, isn't it?
Per capita sure is a hell of a fucking thing.
Also, it's a hell of a drug. Here's an idea. How about you Okay, can we please talk about the man's fit? There's mutton dressed as lamb. That is mutton. That's not just a mutton. That's fucking a bottle of glue dressed as lamb. Bloke, like, I've never seen such an aggressive, hello, how do you do, fellow kids fit.
Yes, yes.
It is like one to one Steve Buscemi's fit from that.
You know, I was gonna say I don't know if it counts as mutton dressed as lamb because I don't know if he's trying to be seductive, which is what that sort of implies. But is he though? Maybe he's trying to look cool and hot. You look homeless.
Gay and homeless.
He's gay. He's homeless. He's an immigrant.
Getting called homeless is a specific kind of insult.
Is Mark Ruffalo even an actual fucking immigrant? Where's an immigrant from? If
I don't know where he's. I don't know where
Canada
the fuck he's
or
from.
no,
I just hope that they can send the cunts back. He's from Kenosha.
He's from. Oh my god.
Could you pick a better city to be from, you bro?
And he's Italian. And he's... I knew I was on something with the Canadian thing. His behavior tipped me off.
Yeah,
his mother's French-Canadian.
To be honest, I just
Italian.
look at his face and thought, is he... I assumed that he was Quebecois. He's got that weird stumpy face.
What do you say? Mercurial, you see.
Excuse me, where I posted this burger? On the anniversary of the day I killed my wife.
Oh my god, should we watch the first 5 minutes of my video? Maybe we'll do
no,
that.
No fucking freebies for these freeloaders.
What are you talking about? Don't be rude. People giving us a super chat.
Also, your screen.
Oh, we'll finish this. I'll put up a poll in the chat if you guys want to watch the first 5 minutes of my video, which the audio's a little scuffed. I'm gonna have to re-record it, my audio. Because for whatever reason, when I compressed it, it turned out a little bit fucked. Also, the winner of the poll was African American women, but it was close. That's 60% versus...
But I don't know that was close. That's a fairly broad margin.
Yeah.
It's just that people had to think about it for a second.
Yeah.
But that's not a crushing win either way or an evenly matched. That is a yeah, but nah. Like there was a clear winner there.
All right, let's finish this.
Immigrants, and they add to our economy by the billions, and so.
Oh man,
yeah.
He's really getting them all in there. He can't.
Yeah, he's
getting
getting
per capita, my GDP, my number go up.
They count towards in billions as a fucking negative.
No, it's just that. Look, if you look at pure GDP, number on graph go up, therefore good. Yes, that's about
Ignore overhead and upkeep.
Yeah, right. Well, ignore everything else that matters. Just as long as numbers
Just
go up.
Raw revenue. It doesn't matter how much it was burned.
Yeah, no, of course not. Doesn't matter if your country is not your country anymore and it's full of people who are incapable of running the infrastructure.
America's not full. If we grind everyone up into a fine mulch and keep them in silos, we could fit billions more people in
Now
America.
you're thinking with portals or something? I don't know.
For every horrible thing that you have to go through in life, you get an equal gift in return. And the gift of this time is that we get to see who the true villains are.
Oh my god, life's not a fucking Marvel movie, you tool!
We get to see...
I've never thought I could say this, that someone looked more like a gay Italian than Vic Mignogna. But here we are. We found someone who is...
Look,
really
I think you
is
say that, because at least I would say that with all the love in the world towards Vic Mignogna.
I love him too, but he's
straight.
quite camp.
He's
quite
very
camp.
He's very
Especially by I live in like the most right-wing region of the Anglosphere, so the metric by which I judge this shit is pretty finely tuned. But my goodness, this man makes Boy George look like Hitler. Even Divine would say they back up a little bit there.
Yeah,
Jesus,
you get a little zesty, bro.
That's the term. It's just fucking zesty. It's not even properly gay. I don't want to see a zesty 59-year-old. I'm sorry.
No one does.
Making our lives unbearable, and who's making...
God, you make my life unbearable.
He really does look homeless. I can't get over the impression to describe him. So I've never seen... That is it. He's an aggressively zesty homeless person.
When in Rome.
Do as many Romans as you can. Well, he's fucking from Rome. That's the problem. He's from fucking Kenosha, Wisconsin, and he thinks he's a fucking migrant. What are we going to deport you back to? Fucking Kyle's front...
Oh.
Let's deport him back to Kyle's back garden.
I mean, Naples, Illinois, not... there's probably... not Italy.
Making us so desperate. It's not the immigrants, it's the billionaires.
Oh, okay.
And it's time to take our
Look,
country
keep a
back
straight
from
face.
that
I
extreme.
think he's high as fuck.
Also, his
wealth.
one side of his face isn't moving. If you notice, his left side of his lip isn't moving.
Vaxxed? Question mark?
No, he's probably off his tits.
Yeah.
All the too much Botox, too much nitrous.
That has its hands all over the power of the nation and become a beautiful, burgeoning democracy that works for the people.
Oh, wait, he said the word. I don't have my soundboard up yet. Oh, no. Hang on. Yeah,
How come you're allowed to have a soundboard? I'm not even allowed to use slurs.
Oh, he stopped. He said the word. Where is it?
You said the word again!
Not just the very wealthy. America is us.
Oh, I get it.
Well, yeah, because
Wow.
you're from fucking because you're from fucking
He
Wisconsin.
sounds like he has a CTE, dude.
Incredible panoply of different kinds of
Panoply,
people.
woo.
Be brave, man. We live in the land of the land of the free and the home of the brave. But
The
if
land
you
of
want
the
to be
homeless.
free, you better.
In LA, yeah. Yeah.
Fuck the land of the free. Welcome to the land of the meal deal. And you're on the fucking menu.
Bro, wait a minute. What just made noise? Oh. Whoops. Somehow, don't worry about it. Computer just decided to refresh the YouTube page, so I heard the intro play in the background for a minute. Anywho.
Intro on a YouTube? What the fuck's going on?
What?
Okay, you gotta remember, I live in Windows 7 land, so I'm like fucking 15 years behind everyone else. So hearing intro on a YouTube page is a bit of a fucking.
Wait,
weird
the
one.
little stream intro, you know?
Oh. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. The people did mostly vote to watch the little preview, or the first 5 minutes, which is...
You traitorous bastards.
Why? Don't be mean.
I worked on it, so it makes me
Oh, I
cringe.
gotta find where it is now. Hang on. There it is. Yep. No high quality.
The answer for the Stivnat question is they shouldn't be locked in their slums, question mark.
The second
How else can we stop them from ruining every healthy community? Good question, Eldritch. Good question.
Alright, this is 5 minutes. It's just the opening. Because I'm really trying to go for like a documentary vibe here. I'll get the super chats, and then we'll watch this little preview of the video. It's, by the way, guys, it's gonna be close to 3 hours long. It's gonna take me a while. I'm working on it. It'll be out when it's out.
I will say this: there's still a couple of more super chats, and there's some really wild out of pocket one.
All right, let's see. Josiah Streetman for 5 says Christian Zionism and oh, did you read this one? Yes. Did you, Bill?
Which one's that?
Christian Zionism and dispensational eschatology are both really.
Yes.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Deans for another 10 says, "Please, bro, just one more war, just one more regime change. I know we said I know we said the same things about Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, but it'll be different this time. I swear. It really it feels like I'm taking crazy pills. But then again,
Beloved bipartisan Holden Blood Feast.
I feel like I just say this last week where I think I did, or something to the effect of, if you watch politics for long enough, and it really doesn't take that long, only like a couple of years, it does feel like you're watching reruns. It's like I've already seen this episode. This one I've seen quite a number of times. They play it a lot. It's like one of those two-parters that they play a lot for certain shows just to fill up time slots. Oh, it really does feel like that. And
People in the chat are incredulous at the runtime of your next documentary. 3 fucking hours and they're spacing it out weird.
Thanks, Anatar.
It'll be out when it's out.
And it'll be out when it's out. Actually, it will actually come out. Unlike
It's way too easy to do a
Unlike
Linkara voice. Just not to do it very well.
unlike the Great Power Ranger rant. Sorry, and if you don't know what we're talking about, sometimes I do worry. It's like so many fucking inside.
So they're not watch only plays and they've got something to watch afterwards.
Right. Frog Jupiter for 2 says, breaking news, Styx Hexenhammer is convicted of DV. Oh, really? I mean, I'm not surprised about that from what I knew about the situation, but fuck. Oof. That's a big oof. Gary Thomas for 5 says, with her untreated jungle fever, we all know which Aiden will choose. Also, John L., are those pills you take for hair loss still giving you ED? John L.? I don't know.
John Lithgow.
I'm not sure who John L. is. Thank you, Gary. Rat Bartholomew Cheese
Must be another person in the chat that he's talking shit to.
Rat Bartholomew Cheese Engine for 5 says, white people are about to receive the biggest reward in history if we go off this logic. I hope it's Agartha or buff Japanese women. Well... Oh, here's the thing.
Why not
Here's why I can't make it a Trilogy 69 Otters, because this video spun out of another script that I have about half written that's sitting at 1,000 words, which is about an hour, on general COVID retractions. I fell into investigating this Didier Raoult guy, and it turned into an enormous rabbit hole. I really, really want to
and we're going for this one specifically because he has a long history of being a petty bitch, so we know that when we talk shit about him, he'll start a massive beef with us on Twitter, and we'll get our numbers
not on
up.
Twitter. I do heavily suspect that the video will be attempt to take it down. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I will come to that bridge I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But, because he's a litigious fuck. But, yeah, I'm very excited about this. I'm really excited to work on this project. I'm trying to do it for more documentary style with it.
Hey, listen, it takes a lot of money to upkeep the lifestyle of doing evil bullshit and looking at that one guy from Detroit Become Human.
Well, what did we decide he looked like? A mix between James May and Jimmy Savile?
Yeah, that's about what I said. And also, he looks exactly like that one sleazy guy from Detroit Become Human, like 1-to-1.
Yeah, he does. Eldritch Saga for 5 says, the answer for the CivNat question is that they should be locked in their slums. Did you read this one, Bill? How else can we... Yes, how else can we stop them from ruining every healthy community? Dude, CivNats, in terms of what they actually end up doing, it's always the same fucking shit. But it's all this boomer con fucking mentality that is endemic. And it is like a switch gets flipped in people's heads, and it's just return to freedom fries, return to boomer. And they can't think outside of that paradigm. I would call it a schema. Cognitive schema, where it's and what cognitive schemas are, it's like a preset system of rules that you have in your head of how to deal with approach different topics. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Hear me out. What if we just said, fuck it, Iran's a pain in the ass, we're just going to conquer the area as an outpost in the region.
We're just gonna kill him.
We just said, like, okay, we've just decided hey, he's 47th, like, descended from Muhammad. We're taking it the old-fashioned way. So unless Jordan's King wants to step in as a more recent, like, heir.
Just gonna play this real quick.
Oh, she's up to mischief again.
What? Come on, YouTube. What the fuck is this?
Guys, what's the one problem right now that's not going to be around in 2070? The elderly and the disabled. Because we're just going to kill them.
Just spin yourself into a human.
We're just gonna kill them.
Wasn't
So
sure
we
which
looked at
side
the
the camera was on. Did
So we
both.
looked at the data. That's actually my favorite part. So we looked at the data.
It really is the same tone as the only thing worse than a rapist, a child.
No.
It's like just steps on the heels of the joke in front just perfectly.
Bruh, okay. Here's the opening to my 3-hour-long magnum anus on Didier Road. Here we go.
Fucking magnum opus.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible one, is the Milgram experiment. So Milgram conducted an experiment where a man in a
Look at
white
that
coat
evil fucking painting in the background.
invited volunteers, ultimately delivering lethal shocks simply because they were told to. If you don't understand that people obey, that obedience is at the root, then you can't grasp how torture and deportation can happen. Because when you resist obedience, you're threatened with everything.
Oh, is it really loud?
Sound balanced it yet?
Oh, some of the sound balancing might be fucked, yeah.
As they get very calmly, like, audio back into the back of their seat. Oh, such calming music.
Trust the science. This was the dogma of Anthony Fauci that quickly became the subject of mockery and derision, but for the vast majority of people is a foregone conclusion. We trust science every day with the prescriptions and the advice of doctors that we take, simply because very few people possess the time, energy, or ability to investigate for themselves why and how things as complex as medicine work. But the COVID era was an exception. A novel virus that had no clear treatment meant that the scientists, the experts, were only slightly more informed than the average person. Conflicting messaging about the efficacy of face masks, vaccines, and medicines, pervasive on a daily basis during that time, are likely a major contributing factor in the trust that people report having in scientists subsequently falling. With a 2024 Pew report finding that, from its peak shortly after the start of the pandemic, 49% of Americans had a fair amount of faith in scientists, and 38% reported having a great deal of faith. I'm not AI, oh man. Only 12% of those polled said that they had little faith. But in October of 2023, this sentiment reached a low point, with 50% of Americans reporting a fair amount of faith, but only 23% reporting a great deal of faith. While those with little to no faith doubled, reaching 23% as well. But this was not limited to America, as in France there was a precipitous drop early on in COVID, as the percentage of people who reported believing that doctors are dedicated people who work for the good of humanity fell from 84% to 74% in just March of 2020, according to polling from the French Interdisciplinary Scientific Research Network, CNRS. Of course, science is a method, not a religion, and as such, to have faith in it is an inherent contradiction. But clearly people do have faith in these institutions and doctors, and that faith was shaken during COVID. And while in the English-speaking world, the face of the faithful was Anthony Fauci, a divisive man accused of egregious, unethical medical misconduct, including animal testing, despised by as many as those who quite literally sung his praises and worshipped at his altar of science. But France had a Fauci-esque figure of its own, largely unknown outside of the Francosphere, despite the key role that he played in one of the many sub-dramas that plagued the COVID years, the subject of hydroxychloroquine. That man, you're gonna learn so much about hydroxychloroquine. A man who reached untold fame only for his house of cards at the University Hospital of Aix-Marseille to come crumbling down in catastrophe, catching countless other doctors as well as celebrities and politicians in the wake of his career's collapse. This is the story of how one man's crusade for chloroquine, fueled not by Hippocratic compassion nor even scientific curiosity, but rather egotism, cronyism, and greed, collapsed an entire cabal within the French medical system, unveiling decades of duplicity, intellectual incest, medical misconduct, personal profiteering, and unethical research. This is the story of the French Fauci, the Mengele de Marseille, Didier Raoult. Beginning with how a single study on synthetic quinine, the tonic part of tonic water, shook the globe by looking into the many scandals surrounding COVID, hydroxychloroquine, and the microbiologist at the eye of the storm who became swept up in its tailwinds. A tale of COVID and chloroquine. Whoa, I even got the first part intro. Wait. So that's there's the preview.
Hooray, we got to gold brick for 5 minutes at your expense.
That's not what I was trying to do. Oh, okay.
Oh, come on. We had so many opportunities to make a joke that they were making lean, and we didn't take a single one of them.
No, well, they weren't making lean.
They looked like they were a couple of times.
Oh my. Back to the subject of the no Kangs protests and related immigration topics. This is, lovely. Kathy Hochul, Governor of New York, says that New York taxpayers are going to pay $50 million in lawyers' fees, presumably, it says for migrants, presumably meaning illegals as well. So if you live in New York, sorry? I don't know why you'd still be living there in the first place, but no, some people don't have a choice. Good God.
Not even with a gun to my head.
Walking out of this courthouse, taken away from their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in this situation.
Never trust someone with cheeks like angled tank armor.
Dude, I know.
No, just put Sam Hyde back on. We're just gonna kill him.
We're just gonna kill him. Deans for another 5 says, wow, James May really went downhill after the Grand Tour. I didn't know he was a French microbiologist. Funny you should say that about James May, because I'm certainly gonna... Can I put in just the scene? Just the one scene. Is this it? I think we can get away with it because it's the old show, right? Yeah. Hang on. I gotta I'm gonna play as very little of it as possible. Work shy. Here it is. Here.
Better cheese, they got better wine, they got better... They haven't got better cheese. They are a bunch of treacherous, lamb-burning, work-shy peasants.
There you go. On the French.
Where you go?
Whoops. Okay, what was next? What are next? Oh, right. The Kathy Hochul thing. Oh, yeah, it's all these, speaking of the boomers, even at these... No, Kangs protests. It's all a bunch of fucking boomers. The only people who showed up to these, because as I pointed out last week, they seemed uncharacteristically, for the yearly riots in LA, unenthused. And so you get the couple of paid protesters, but clearly the money is not going out this year as much as in previous years.
I'd say, like, the average person's got shit to do. They've got to go, work a living so these broke bitches can keep withdrawing their Social Security.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that it was a temporary distraction at best. This Iran stuff was... I mean, we've known for a while that the shit in the Middle East was going to pop off at some point, and America was going to get involved. But in addition, so there's less paid protesters, less people than normal. They just weren't investing the money into it as much this year.
I think. Whole fucking... Okay, the whole Iran thing, I'm sorry. The entire state's already in full collapse at this point. Like, you basically knocked over the Middle Eastern equivalent of Dark Side Phil. So you can sort of limp through every disaster that's happened to them, regardless of common sense and decency.
The camera was on the whole time, huh? Oh my God.
Been Iran Contra, I suppose.
Yeah. But just look at all these fucking boomers. So you've got a couple of true believer lunatics. You've got a lot of people who are just opportunists, like Hassan Piker, and then you've got a bunch of fucking boomers.
What the fuck? Like, this woman looks like the fucking George R. R. Martin. Like, these, I don't know what broke dick unit they found all these idiots at, but goddamn, they're clearly not paying them enough.
Yeah.
This is what happens when like the Women's Institute bans drinking on the premises.
It's just fucking pathetic.
This looks like a let out from a Masons meeting.
Yeah.
No, not like Elk Lodge or something. I'm probably making a bunch of enemies by making this joke.
Yeah. So.
Listen, I can't join the Masons. It's Tuesday nights. I sometimes have Pathfinder on them nights.
So more than 50 House Democrats broke from the party line and didn't vote for this. Oh my God! Did Brave just crash? I forgot this is why I keep forgetting that I have to use Chrome to stream. Give me a second. I'm gonna switch over to Chrome because I forgot that Brave crashes constantly when I stream because of the way that Brave works. One moment, let me switch my screens here.
Yeah, do they make protest signs in retirement homes now? Well, they do arts and crafts, don't they?
Yeah. Let's see.
The world's first knitted battle banner.
There we go.
Take this much. Next, left wing v right wing riot's gonna be a really fucking weak showing.
Yeah. So, 148 Democrats back non-citizen voting in D.C. as GOP raises alarm about foreign agents. So, yes, some Democrats did vote against it, but the vast majority of Dems voted to let non-citizens vote in the District of Columbia, the nation's capital. Just, I mean, it's so ridiculous. What's the fucking point? I mean, democracy is such a joke.
Hey, kids at home, look up James Elephantis for more information on DC Democrats.
Yeah. Sorry, I had like a headband on my mic stand and it fell off. Whoops.
Man,
it fell off.
It fell off.
Just so fucking dumb. DC's Progressive City Council passed the Local Resident Voting Rights Amendment Act in 2022, granting non-U.S. citizens the ability to vote in local elections if they live in the district for at least 30 days. Non-citizens can also hold local elected office in the DC government. The local measure has been a frequent target of GOP attacks, with Republican national security hawks raising alarms about the possibility of hostile foreign agents. Oh, come on. But progressives like Representative Maxwell Frost, who spoke out against the bill on Tuesday afternoon, have dismissed that as an implausible scenario. Yeah, that actually, in the big scheme of things, a couple foreign agents voting comparatively to just all the illegals voting, you know.
Well, if they are occupying like middle management in civil service, they have the opportunity to cause absolute fucking havoc.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's DC. It's one of the bluest parts of the entire country.
Oh no, it's more the fact that like paperwork can get mislaid and things like that. Like, for instance, like they found they caught a bunch of Chinese bioterrorists recently who were going to be spreading. It wasn't ergo, but it was something similar. It was like some fungal disease that would completely buttfuck corn crops. Like all it would take is like one document getting misplaced for that situation to have for them to have gotten away with that shit.
Yep.
Too many opportunities. I'm of the opinion that if you are foreign, you shouldn't hold any office whatsoever. Get Ilhan the rest of the fucking ne'er-do-wells out of power. Get some actual like natural born citizens in power.
Yeah. Let's see. You know that this is the previous bill. Hard to go back to your district as a Democrat and say, yeah, I want foreign agents to be able to vote in our elections. Oh yeah, it's not federal elections, some may say, but it has an impact on the way the cities run. Yeah, sure. Could be Russian embassy personnel. It could be Chinese embassy personnel. It could just be a bunch of fucking Mexicans who aren't. The point is they're not citizens.
It could be.
That's a requirement to vote. I mean, I'm sure that in DC they would also like to let convicted felons vote as well, particularly the pedophiles. But, you know, I'm sure they'll get around to that eventually.
We call that, they probably call that retirement insurance.
Right? So, this is,
Well, like, folks at home, if any of your elected officials talk about how Israel is our biggest ally, etc., and other such nonsense, just remember that means that they were on the island. And you should tweet as such, and you should report them as such.
Yeah.
This person was on the fucking nonce island.
What Ted Cruz is, which we'll get to, he is quite literally openly on the payroll. So, give you some idea about Ted Cruz. But, so we already had we had per capita issues. What was the other thing he pulled out in addition to per capita?
GDP.
GDP. We've got some more leftoid maths here.
Like rocks. But there's one catch.
Is it like under 30%?
Current support right now, though, is that 6.
Current support for Trump. Go ahead. Sorry, just wanted to.
Apparently, yeah, for Gary Thomas for $5. John Leguizamo, who during an Instagram live said unprompted pills he was taking to battle hair loss were giving him erectile dysfunction.
Oh my god, I didn't hear about that.
And then Dakota 345 gives 5 subs.
Hey, thank you for the 5 memberships. Hell yeah, man, thank you. So, one sec. This is talking about support for Trump. And I am very unhappy with Trump in terms of the saber rattling.
As everyone should be, because it's gay and homeless behavior.
And I'm equally just disgusted with all the people on Twitter, the conservatives being like, if you don't stand with Trump, then you're oh my god, I saw it. We'll get to it. We'll get to some of this ridiculous shit I've seen people say. I mean, it's just so sides-cucked. Anyway, here we go.
But there's one catch.
Is it like under 30%?
Current support right now, though, is that 66% of the American public actually thinks it is crime enough to be undocumented.
Oh, right, that's what it was.
And therefore deported.
That it's criminal to be undocumented?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't see on my view.
Oh, fuck. God damn it. One sec. Sorry. We'll have to do it again then. One sec. I forgot that I switched browsers. Sorry, I'll go back and play it again. We shouldn't have to do this. Shouldn't have to switch back again, but here, I'll go back to... Here we go, yeah. Here?
Foreign policy. His ratings are dropping like rocks. But there's one catch.
Is it like under 30%?
Current support right now, though, is that 66% of the American public actually thinks it is crime enough to be undocumented and therefore deported.
That it's...
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you're still not feeding. There's no feed still.
I sent it to you. I'm not playing it again. I'll just tell you what it's just, you have to click on the thing.
Oh, hang on.
Sorry.
It clicked out sometimes.
Oh, no. It's because I did. I'll just tell you what she said, okay? She said that 60% of Americans think that it's illegal to be undocumented. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
That's why they're illegal. They're here illegally. They do not have the right to be here. They have not gotten the paperwork to be here. They are undocumented. They don't have the documentation giving, if they are not citizens, why they are in the country. Everyone needs documentation if they are not a citizen, as to why they are in the country. The fact that it's only 60% of the U.S. that thinks that's a crime.
It's an indictment.
But that's actually not what they're, you know, they're the other way about it. They are shocked that many Americans know that if you don't have documentation showing that you are allowed to be in the country, that is illegal. They're surprised by that because this is the view.
Criminal to be undocumented?
Yes, it is not. You know how the disagreement was in the beginning? We were told it was going to be violent criminals, and I think everyone at this table would agree.
Yeah.
Haul out the violent criminals, fine. But a very important distinction was...
I'm not very sure the people at that table would agree with that.
60% of the American public, 2/3 of independents, 90% of Republicans, and just a little under half of Democrats think the crime is in being undocumented.
Even if it's a civil offense.
Yes.
Yeah,
so what I'm
true.
saying is a massive amount of this country actually agrees with not how he's doing it, but with what he's doing.
Yes.
So I think that
yes. If you are in this country illegally without any reason, like, you know, you can come into a country for travel, for vacation, all kinds of reasons like that. But that's fine. It's not, you know, it depends on the country you're coming from, how much is necessary to be required. But for the most part, if you're just visiting, it's not a fucking issue. But if you are living in the country, yeah, you need a reason to be there. You need to have documentation for that. And if you don't have documentation for why you're in the country as a non-citizen, then yes, you are breaking the law. Just absolutely, I mean, the brain trust of the view. I know it's rage bait. It has to be, but it works on me. Just the absolute state of these people. Again, I don't think anyone actually watches The View. I'm pretty sure the only people who do are conservative, right-leaning, etc. type people who do podcasts.
Yeah, we are keeping them alive at this point.
Right.
With the adrenochrome this time around.
Oh my. Let's see. The Logical Mail for 5 says, let's give clarity. Republicans want illegals for cheap... let's give clarity. Republicans want illegals for cheap labor. Democrats want illegals for welfare state and cheap labor, by the way, such as Medicare, food stamps, and so on. Yeah, they want them as a client voting class, of course. But they also want the cheap labor. It's been one of their rallying cries for the last couple of weeks.
Well, Democrats going, we want slaves. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. So I did like this though. I liked Ron DeSantis. Like I don't trust Ron DeSantis at all.
Looking like a lost Baldwin brother.
But I mean, I don't trust any politician. But I liked this response.
Our policy the second they step over that line, as blurry as they want it to be.
Well, the Hamas demonstrations, when that was in vogue, they tried to do that in the city of Miami, and the Miami PD got them off the street in 13 minutes. They tried to do it in Central Florida on a state road, and our state highway patrol, they were able to dispatch them in 11 minutes. And so, yes, there is zero tolerance. You have no right.
The different departments are getting competitive.
Yeah.
You want to see some real shit? Let's see what the Coast Guard can do.
To commandeer streets. And first of all, it's just wrong. Second of all, that has huge impacts on people's quality of life. You may have a parent needing to go pick up a child from daycare, from a camp, or from school. You may have somebody who has a medical issue they need to get. And what, you're going to clog all the roads? So we have an absolutely zero tolerance policy for that. And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
So he is going with the, what's his name, Terry A. Davis approach? Just run him over with your car.
Yeah. They glow in the dark.
They glow in the dark. I'm a white man. I built my own compiler.
Cold like a white man. But the thing is, his voice is so close to Jordan Peterson's voice.
Write your own code, bucko.
It's just so close. The pronunciation, the way they
yeah.
The words is so close to each other. Peterson.
Run him over with your car.
Just the expression "code like a white man," he describes it coding his own compiler, something that most people would refer to as psychotic.
Yeah, well,
and overkill in the most extreme sense.
Yes. See all the Mexican flags at the No Kings events? Mexican voters just made that look even worse. This is commentary from the Western Journal. And we did notice this, we pointed it out last week. Just all of these American patriots took to the street on the weekend. Now, I think it's fairly obvious that it is probably a lot of Americans bringing these Mexican flags, because the whole point of this is to stir up animus, intergroup animus in particular, interracial animus. That's the point of these protests, these riots every single fucking year. Interracial conflict, race war now. Excuse me. So I think it is probably a lot of Americans waving Mexican flags with the intent to, again, raise the political temperature. So we pointed out just the sheer number of Mexican flags. But what was it?
Not a lot of actual Mexicans, though.
Well, not only did Mexico have a literal monarchy as late as 1867, when Habsburg Maximilian I was deposed from the throne, but was pretty much a one-party state under the PRI, or Partido Revolucionario Instruccional, until 2000, and lo and behold, it seems it's going back that same way, something that was demonstrated with no shortage of irony by Mexican voters at the same time that these No Kings idiots were flying flags on Saturday from a New York Times piece dated Sunday titled, "In Mexico, thousands ran for office, few voted, and one party dominated it all."
I would like to point out that despite that being the case, Mexico's reigning party still killed like 85 people in their last election.
I'm not saying the party's based. I'm not saying Mexicans are based. I'm saying that it's people. Participating in democracy drives people insane. I did a video on it maybe like about a year ago or so. That the very act of participating in democracy drives people nuts. We're not designed to do it.
It's a moot point. The current like weird Israeli shill they've got in charge down there now killed 85 people to get where she is. Like, the democracy is superfluous. She was going to kill her way to the top one way or another.
Right. But of course, it's the irony of all of it.
I don't think that the illusion of democracy is really in place at this point. It's just
no.
How many carcasses do I need to pile up in a heap before I can get to a throne?
Well, right. Exactly. So, in the UK, something kind of strange happened, which was that Parliament essentially just decriminalized abortion up until birth. And for no apparent reason. This wasn't voted on by the people. The demos, that whole democracy thing. Nobody really voted for this. The MPs just decided to do it. So they have voted overwhelmingly in favor of decriminalizing abortion up to birth. After 2 hours of debate in the House of Commons on June 17th, with a majority of the 242 votes needed, MPs voted 379 to 137 in support of an amendment to Crime and Policing Bill, which removes criminal liability from any woman who aborts her child for any reason up to and during birth. Wowie.
So, now, far be it from me to be conspiratorial, I would agree with that. If I recall, aren't there a bunch of really high-profile cases in the NHS where, like, injury or death of an infant during birth is incredibly common amongst foreign doctors?
I wouldn't be shocked.
Like, there's been several, like, decapitations.
Again, I would not be shocked.
Like, really horrific fucking medical mishaps due to sheer incompetence. And...
yeah, there's a lot of that about.
And also, what... I would say, honestly, the racial breakdown in infanticide.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that this was not just so, oh, now we can let white women kill their kids more. No, I think this is to cover up a backlog of criminal cases that they've been sitting on and hoping that there would be a moment when no one was looking so they could sweep a massive tract of criminal activity under the rug.
Yeah, I would not be at all surprised by that. And then it would be like, well, it's legal now, so what's the problem? Actually, I just saw a thing about that. I didn't put it in the show notes, but it was, I think, was it in Ireland, though, I think? They just found some, in a family shelter, or a church, like, women's shelter thing. They found a pit of graves, or a pit full of dead baby bodies. Just recently.
Yeah, the old workhouses. That was actually quite.
I think. Well, I could go find the article.
The women's homes in Ireland were all extremely sketchy.
Yes.
Tantamount to basically just convent / like sweatshops.
So, I would think too, though. Obviously, encouraging abortion discourages the native population from reproducing. And if you can't get white people to reproduce, then you have to import a bunch of migrants, import a bunch of foreigners, because that's the only way you can keep. Well, what are we gonna do? People won't have babies.
We need to import more, because every time, despite having like 10 times the breeding rate of regular white people, they have over a 60% like a self-abortive rate because they're too inbred. Because 70% in like amongst, I believe, Pakistani.
Yeah, let me find that article.
Migrants, there's over 70% are married to first cousins.
Right. Let me find that article real quick about the baby bodies, because I know that's because it made me think of the Canadian thing too.
Well, here's the thing, they had that over here. They found what they thought was a skull in Jersey in one of the old convent houses. Turned out it was a piece of fucking coconut shell. They dug up like 8 different buildings down to the deep foundations to discover that it was fuck all there. Now I will say this: a lot of the Irish workhouses, especially, like were up to absolutely heinous things. However, a lot of these are like they are chasing after the clout of an actual tragedy. In that case, there's a lot of those. The Jersey one, complete tripe. I believe most of the a good chunk of the East Coast ones were the same tribe. Like for every actual incident, there's usually like a dozen troublemakers, like just pretending.
Nearly 800 infant remains found in septic tank at nun-run Irish unwed mother and baby home.
With Ireland, more often than not, it is the case.
Crews began excavating the former Bon Secours mother and baby home in Towm, Ireland. Nearly 800 infant remains were found in a septic tank on the site. The home was run by Catholic nuns and closed in 1961 after many children died there. So, I mean, I don't know if this was then... Did they die because the women didn't want the children? I mean, it closed in 1961, so this was a long time ago that this happened, but this is still fucked that this happened at all, you know? If true. Mass graves, do they actually dig these up, though? Nuns offer apology. I'll have to look into this more, because I did just come across the headline while I was looking for stuff earlier.
We put a pin in this one, and we'll come back to it another day. I'll see if I can get in touch with some of my correspondents in Ireland who know about this specific stuff. I know some chaps out that way who might know a thing or two.
Logical Mail for... Oh, yeah. Yeah. Logical Mail for 2 says what Ron DeSantis explained how happened in L.A. Oh my god, I can't talk tonight for some reason. But yeah, it's happened a couple times. We watched it last week. Yeah. Just ran people over. At least one of them that I saw. Eldritch Saga for 5 says, if property can be possessed while alive and entities can own property, wouldn't using churches to assign group housing needs jobs work?
Well, that would used to be like a
yeah.
But we have that called the douzaine rooms, which is a Norman French term. But essentially, it's just you working for the parish. That's not unheard of, and it's Civic Common used to be basically status quo for a while.
Deans for 5 says, Genesis 9:6, whosoever shall shed man's blood, his blood shall be shed, for man was made in the image of God. Yeah, I know. And this abortion stuff, it's the thing again that's so bizarre about it is that it really did come out of nowhere. The new clause 1 of the bill lifts any criminal liability for women performing their abortions for any reason at any time up into and including birth. This decision significantly reduces the protection of unborn lives and will result in harm for pregnant women, Archbishop Sherrington said. Women will be even more vulnerable to manipulation, coerced, and forced abortions. He continued, this legal change will also discourage medical consultation and make the use of abortion pills for dangerous late-term at-home abortions more likely. Yeah, because now of course, decriminalizing it essentially incentivizes it.
So suddenly, and note that it says like women performing their abortions for any reason. So it would include presumably improvised.
Right.
Or in this case, in a foreign-born family, the father decides he doesn't want a girl.
Sure.
And lies about
many such cases, by the way. That might be why. This is
100% a smoke screen to cover up for migrants who are killing.
Who kill girls, yeah.
specifically young girls.
Well,
Some are
and
actually,
look,
I think one or two different
it's a double
denominations,
whammy.
they skew the other way.
It's a double whammy, though. Also, get the local population to kill their children more easily, and then also, you know, cover up and make excuses for the
and further
ritual
the cause
infant
of
slaughter.
women having less responsibility.
Of course,
if
of
they have any
course.
whatsoever.
Right, so that you need more migrants. You need to import more migrants who will abort and murder their female children, so that you can replace the native population. Great. But there has been a public, obvious negative shift on immigration in general. We talked about it last week, but it's because of a lot of these reports that have come out. So this is just because you're also hearing this per capita stuff coming out of England regarding, well, you know, it's mostly English people, white English people who do crimes. So here's the report, Operation Stovewood, showing ethnicity of suspects and convicted suspects in Rotherham, showing high proportion of Pakistani suspects and convicts. So unlike the US, the UK is significantly more white. It's 80-something%, I think it's 86% British white. So 22% in terms of these are the people charged. Let's look at the convicted, which is near identical. 22% British, 5% Yemeni, 3% Bangladeshi, 2% Jamaican, 2% Zimbabwean, 2% Ivorian, I guess Ivory Coast, 2% Polish. The Polish made it to the board, friends. There you go. And 62% Pakistani in Rotherham. So.
Now, I'm just saying, wood chippers can be rented.
Yeah, well.
They're all good sport. All good.
If nothing else,
stores.
But of course, nothing's going to actually end up happening with getting rid of these people. I fear the
just remember, folks,
current anti-immigrant sentiment is performative, of course. Although, it's great switcheroo shit, you know.
You was wrong there. I'd be happy if you did.
Yep.
Prove that's fucking wrong.
So.
Organize.
My other sort of pre-Iran topics. The other thing that is being put away, of course, is the trans stuff. This study came out that's about how, guess what? You know those puberty blockers that are safe and effective and don't do anything? And all, so you can give them to kids like candy, so that then once they're old enough, they can decide what their gender is. Because the puberty... And then, of course, you know, that way, if your child is biologically male or female, they can compete in the sports of whatever gender they identify as. Of course, it's always adult or older teens, males wanting to participate in women's sports for obvious reasons. But the cope about this is that, well, if they take these hormone blockers, they won't develop the same way that boys will in terms of having greater, you know, strength and speed than women do. But that's all bullshit. Because, of course, as this study has found, in terms of a 1,600-meter running performance and participation for children aged 6 to 12 years old. That's been making the rounds, this one. So, in children, females participate in sport, blah, 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 methods, model results. Male children were faster than female children at every grade level, with an average difference of 7.7%. Participation was lower for female children, and there was no correlation between female participation and the performance difference between the sexes. Yeah, pretty good. Needed to equalize the sex differences in performance if participation was equalized. It was 4.38 milliseconds, which is greater than the observed female mean, plus 2 standard deviations. So if you stop children from maturing in terms of their sexual development by the age 6, it doesn't matter. Now I fear that were all this shit not being put away, that this kind of evidence would be used to say, oh, well, we have to get them on puberty blockers at 5. At birth, you know, but this stuff's going away, so...
When checkered hawks and other such nonces would, you know, ply their horrific trade, they used to just give kids cigarettes to stunt their growth. This is, like, to chemically... not to chemically castrate them before they even started puberty, to keep them artificially young looking. The people in charge have got dodgy hard drives, let's be real here, folks. And I'm sure adrenochrome tastes better without the endocrine system working.
Delicious adrenochrome. However, major victory. Supreme Court issues ruling on to ban on transgender procedures for minors. This has gone through as well.
Hooray, the bare fucking minimum.
I know. SCOTUS ruled 6-3 that a Tennessee ban on transgender procedures for minors, including hormones and puberty blockers, did not violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, thereby triggering a celebration amongst conservatives on X, whom hailed the ruling as a major victory. It's not a victory, and I know that I come off as a Debbie Downer on shit like this, but it's important to be realistic about when shit like this happens, which is that it's just allowed for now. The narrative has shifted. It's changed. The things that you're supposed to care about.
Advantage. Do not rest on your laurels. Do not be placated. There's two ways of going about this, but
well, just understand that
we're placated, or we take the momentum and push further.
Don't be placated, because they'll just drag it back out. Again, like I said, you're watching reruns all the time. We're right back in 2002, 2003. We're right back to freedom fries right now.
Contact whoever represents you, and badger the fuck out of them. Do not let them rest until this shit is sorted out, and they know full well that you do not want. Well, first of all, that you want a return to something even resembling a normal fucking society, and more importantly, we don't want more fucking hand throwing in the Middle East.
Yeah,
a bunch of twats.
Well, that's the thing to keep in mind in both of these. A lot of these topics we're talking about, all of the ones we've talked about tonight so far, there's actual people's lives very much at risk here in numerous different ways, and I think that kind of gets forgotten about sometimes. But these are children who can't fucking consent to any of this. So...
being poisoned by the caregivers.
Just as if a draft gets initiated, for instance, men can't consent to that. So, a lot of consent violations being thrown about recently.
The one thing that is bipartisan, no matter where you go, is your fucking, rights on the table on the chopping block. How can they carve you up?
Yeah, and if you don't want to go fight and die for this war to protect Israel, our greatest ally, then you're a coward, you're a pussy. What has the Western world offered men that would want them to go fight and die for America, let alone for America's greatest ally?
If you're gonna fight and die, do it for yourself. Fucking drag land back from the fucking jaws of these fucking monsters.
Yeah. It's basically, everything, if there's anything wrong with you, it's your fault, unless you're a particular client class. You have to fucking deal with it. And that's like I said, major victory. It's not a victory. It is good that it's going away, because this was actually causing a lot of permanent harm to a lot of young people. And at least it's been temporarily somewhat mitigated. But when we say that it's being put away, one, that indicates that it's intentional, that this is over now. We're moving on to the Middle Eastern war, freedom fries stuff. But also that it can always be taken back out at any time. Bill's mic's a little low. I'll raise that up.
No Iranian ever called me a bigot, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you are a bigot, right?
It's our word.
I know, it's your word. Bigot is a word for...
slur for Norman people.
Slur for Norman French people, and Bill is Norman French.
By extraction.
By extraction. So, that moves us into the Iran-Israel conflict, which I'm going to put this away just for a minute.
Go Team Aryans!
So I just want to go through a sort of quick rundown of the last 6 days, just bullet point of events that I pulled off of the general thread on 4chan, because it's just, here's the quick rundown of what's happened. Day 1, Netanyahu calls on Iranian people to overthrow the regime. Israel airstrikes on Iran targets. Target missile silos and air bases. Most of Iran's chain of command are killed or missing in the initial strike. Iran's nuclear facilities destroyed and nuclear scientists are assassinated. Israel launches Operation codenamed Lion-like Nation, says the campaign will take weeks. Day 2, Iran fires ballistic missiles, striking Haifa refinery. Israel retaliation targets oil depots in Tehran. Israel bombs Iran's... I keep saying Iran or Iran. I always get them... I can never stick to a consistent pronunciation of some things. I don't know why I'm like that.
No, Iraq is actually pronounced Iraq, but Iran.
Okay. Israel bombs Iran's largest gas refinery at South Pars gas field. Iran fires ballistic missiles at Tel Aviv. 3 Israelis killed. Day 3. Iran launches third consecutive night of missile salvo at Israel. Heavy Israeli airstrikes throughout Iran continue throughout the day. Putin, after his phone call with Trump, warned Iran's leader Khamenei that his regime is in danger. 11 Israelis killed in missile attack. Day 4. Trump says everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran and leaves G7 to return to D.C. Iranian parliament vote to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Heavy U.S. military deployment underway in Middle East. Dozens of refueling aircraft and USS Nimitz are en route. Bazan oil refinery in Haifa shut down operations due to damage sustained from Iran's missile attack. 8 Israelis killed in missile attacks, and U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv sustained minor damage. About 25 Israelis and about 250 Iranians estimated to have been killed now since the start of the conflict. Day 5. Trump says unconditional surrender on Truth Social. Trump, on Supreme Leader Khamenei, says, quote, "We are not going to take him out, at least for now." Israeli officials says the next 48 hours will be critical in the war against Iran. U.S. Air Force F-22s and F-35s are en route to the Middle East, via the Aviationist is who reported that. IDF intelligence complex in Herzliya sustains damage from Iranian missile strike. Israel says it killed the new Iranian chief of staff, whose precursor was killed in another Israeli strike on Friday, so they're really burning through them. Day 6, USS Ford aircraft... Hey, cool name. Aircraft carrier group will deploy to Europe next week, placing a third U.S. carrier near the Israeli-Iran conflict. Trump says next week will be decisive for Iran, and key events could unfold before the week's end. Iran is now facing near total internet blackout. Although I did see that Elon said he had the Starlink turned on for Iran, I guess. Khamenei says that Iran won't surrender, threatens irreparable damage if U.S. joins war. Iran is preparing for retaliatory strikes on U.S. bases, starting with the ones in Iraq, according to the New York Times. And about 30 U.S. refueling planes are assisting Israel's operation in Iran, according to CNN. So that's where we're at now, just in terms of the order of events and etc. The boomer reaction to this, like I said, just the instantaneous switch flipped to go immediately back to party like it's 1999. Do you know what I mean?
Now, if I were to be generous in our analysis of a Zion Dawn, this is like given how decisive, how rash it's been, how fast everything's gone, I have to assume that he was told something along the lines of either you help us with this, or we go live with some damning information, or you help us with this, or we use the Samson option.
Which is possible.
Because they were getting leathered pretty hard. Like the Iron Dome pretty much just doesn't work, from what we've seen. Else it's not being employed. The Iranians were actually landing some hits. Perhaps they were being allowed through in order to justify
that is a possibility. Look, and you say things like that, and then people will freak out and go, "Oh, you're an anti-Semite, blah blah blah."
I am.
Well, yeah, okay, I know you were, but they'll immediately jump to identity politics. Immediately jump to just disparaging and ignoring the actual fucking truth, which is that governments, not just Israel, do shit like that all the fucking time. And in fact, one of the major claims to the contrary about Palestine, for example, is that they intentionally, and this is known to be true, but if you can believe it about Palestine, I don't know why you can't, or in Gaza, I don't know why you can't believe it about Israel or other places, that they intentionally put military bases in civilian centers so that when Israel attacks them, civilians get hit and killed.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Hamas and ISIS were started by Israel.
Yes,
as a position that got out of hand. They were, meaning they were trained by Mossad. Mossad took the same fucking techniques that Nazi Germany used. Nazi Germany used to build their bunkers underneath churches and underneath major supply centers of towns. They did it over here. That's during the occupation. There's clear lineage of technique.
Just check out this fucking boomer as fuck comic. I will cut ties with you if you go to war. Are you sure? And look at this silly fool. Look at this fool. He's very foolish.
No pageantry, please. We're about... fucking calm down, Von Karma. Goodness me. Also, why does the 8th MS... Why was MS... 8th MS team. I'm wishful thinking. I wish it was 8th MS team. Why is MS-13 over there? Look like a member of the Argentinian football team.
He's way too white.
That's why he's from Argentina.
Oh, right. You silly song.
Yeah, see? I am saying you're going.
You're over there with the freaks and the troons and the MS-13 members. God, this is pathetic. It's pathetic. I can't stand this boomer.
They seem to have characterized it. They seem to have like shown the Democrats to be a perfectly pleasant anthropomorphization. At most, it looks like a grumpy.
Is.
It's just a kind of laid back, kind of Office Space-esque character. Whereas Trump looks like a fucking munchkin in this. Is this like, were they paid and they're trying to get a backhander in or something? Because the proportions are a bit.
It's exactly this comic.
Looks like the fucking Pringles man.
The one where they push
the
guy to the right.
Yeah, it's supposed to be trying to lord that, but it's like they've gone with such weird design.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just thought this is emblematic of the. I can't find that.
Like, doesn't even like. Also, the fact that this is issue 665.
Oh,
come
so
on,
close.
1-800. Come on now.
Yeah, 1-800. Come on now. What are you doing? At least make it a nice even 666. Elder Talkover 2 says, after Trump's, no one should trust the U.S. again. Well, no one should have trusted the U.S.
If you were trusting that, I would remind you, this is a country that was founded by people who, during a Christmas ceasefire, rode across the lake and murdered everyone in their sleep.
Yeah. Just
why are you trusting the U.S.? Are you fucking deaf, dumb, blind, and stupid?
Bill Mitchell has been on. I will look up just to show them some of the things that Melanie Mack's been saying, because I don't want to dog on Melanie Mack. Oh, nice. But look at Bill Mitchell here. This, like, just peak boomer shit. Has anyone considered the possibility that America has miraculously survived so many close calls over the centuries is that our purpose is to defend Israel?
Get thee behind me, Satan. That's what I'd say on that matter.
For centuries, as in before the U.S. essentially, well, before the UK allowed Israel to exist in the first place.
How many close calls? Let's face it. How many close calls that have not been caused by Israel over the last fucking 80 years?
If we quit Israel, I believe God may quit us. This is this messianic shit that they do believe in, which is that
a term like that should get you fucking excommunicated.
I know, but
that should get you fucking whipped out of town.
End of times type shit is that the only way
they're
the
all
rapture
stomping
will
their
happen,
feet and chewing their fucking hands and screaming, "Please God, let Edom fall so the world can fucking end."
That's it. They are actually people who believe this, sincerely believe it, and I don't mean just boomers saying it, because again it maintains their delusional version of reality.
I'm gonna get real conspiratorial. I'm gonna get schizo from it.
Oh, go full schizo,
was the proliferation of zombie media in order to prepare people for the idea of wishing for an apocalypse?
Let's not just talk about zombie media. Going back to the abortion thing,
media.
The abortion thing specifically. Why the Last Man is the one I can think of off the top of my head. But how many pieces of media have been very popular in the last couple of years, and by couple now I mean like 30, where it is post-apocalyptic because no one can reproduce?
Oh, what's the other one? It's got what's his face from Shoot 'em Up.
There's a ton. There's been a ton of them and particularly in recent years. It's all
Children of
sloppy.
Men.
Children of Men. There's been a whole bunch of this fiction, and
some can argue Gattaca.
Man, the thing is though is that I brought this up last week, and I brought it up before that, which is that there was a study recently done on mice that got the COVID vaccine, and found a decrease of 60% of the available ova in the rats. So maybe there's a reason why all this media has been focusing on...
And that's one generation deep, not multiple of
yeah.
compounding vaccination exposure that are going to lead to people literally becoming genetic dead ends.
Yeah, Handmaid's Tale is another big one.
When in those cases, fetishizing it.
Mm-hmm. It's the thing, it's often fetishized.
People will like nowadays more than ever. You'll people crawling over themselves to hope for the end of days. I think that's what the whole idea of the dystopia we're stuck in is to just grind us down psychologically till we literally beg the heavens themselves for the end of days.
Sandrick asks, have you already seen the video from Asian Mearsheimer from a year ago who gave reasons for the escalation between the U.S., why it was bound to happen? I've not seen that, but I'll look, because I'd like to see that. Oh, I don't know if Asian Mearsheimer will find him for me, but yeah, I'd like to see that. Slosher for 50 Canadian says, people who want the end times to be while they're around suffer from pride and ego. I'm so important that of course it needs to happen during my lifetime. Absolutely, but that's that boomer mentality I was talking about. It's that complete and utter self-centeredness. I am the center of the universe. So the rapture has to come during my lifetime because I'm just so super special. But yes, it is narcissistic, prideful, and egotistic. Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. Holy shit. Thank you for $50. Rep Bartholomew Cheesington for 2 says, thank God I never signed up for the draft. Forgot. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's how it works. Deans for 5 says, America's purpose is to... well, not yet, at least. America's purpose is to defend the people who try to rule his lawyer God, whilst also censoring his name whenever they speak of him. I always find that so weird. I think I saw Roseanne Barr did that while she was also simping for Israel. She censored God. Which I thought
and when we had this in the early 2000s as well, it was like taboo they would start bleeping God out of songs up till like late aughts. Remember this happened with a lot of Panic at the Disco songs.
I'm sorry, I want to read Josh Moon's tweet in response to Bill Mitchell here.
No, not him. The one the same. Joshua Connor Moon.
India exists because God wants them to dump billions of tons of plastic in the ocean. For all of human history, despite adversity, Indians have been permitted to continue existing for this exciting purpose.
And of course, Aristophanes, no, Bill, I've not considered that possibility because I'm not fucking retarded.
Oh, wowie.
Well, Neil Woe is appealing to a sense of self-respect that Bill Mitchell clearly doesn't fucking have.
No, I don't think he has any. Not to tweet shit like that. Oh, right. I wanted to, 1 second. We'll get to this in a minute. Okay, 1 second. I wanted to find that. Just a couple of things that Melanie Mack had said about it, because... and why I said it's not, and why it's a mentality, why it's a mentality, and why it's not... And I don't want to dog on Melanie, but why it is a mentality.
I do, it's pretty funny.
Let's see, where was
Listen, this is one of the rare occasions where I might get to punch down.
Actually, we can just go through the page, because it's been a lot of it. But I think it is like the newfound Christianity is the reason behind this, and for a lot of people that probably is it. They think that as Christians, it's the Holy Land, we have to protect it, and therefore we have to protect Jews because they're God's chosen people, etc. Yes, people love to call themselves a Christian until it actually comes to worldly opposition, then it's crickets are back to posting worldly acceptable opinions for the masses. Well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to go fight, are you? I'm not trying to be mean, but you're not going to go fight, are you? So, you're also doing this.
It's all just posturing, and I hate pageantry more than anything.
Yeah? God is not done with Israel. The Bible's very clear on this.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
let's refer back to the Bible and see how Israel was doing even back then. Oh, wait. Doing what they're doing now. Trying to pull shit and get away with it.
Yeah. Feels good to have a man as our president again. About Trump saber rattling. I gotta find the one where
we get it.
we
get it. You have parental issues. Calm yourself down, bitch. Take a cold shower.
I gotta find the one where it's just.
It wasn't cute when Milo did that shit.
Craziest things I've ever fucking seen. Just the way it was phrased. I did send it. I think I sent it to Scrump, so I can find it there if I can't find it beforehand. Really trendy to hate Jews right now, but fortunately I don't follow trends. Still praying for Israel and praying for the safety of the Iranian people who have been oppressed by their government's evil regime. Where is it, though? It's right around this point. LARP is so embarrassing. Jews not throwing Christians off roofs. Dude, where was this? Did she delete it? No way. Hang on a second. I wasn't planning to do this, but it was one of the craziest fucking things.
Someone did request it, more or less. Someone did more or less request it.
Yeah, hang on. I sent it to Scrump before. I will go find it. I think I'll probably type it in. Nope. I should just be able to look for it. Dude. What the fuck? Sorry, can you tread water for me for a second, Bill? I don't know.
Certainly, ardent party for $2.
Here it is.
Trump, we must... what's this? What's this wee pale face?
Here we go. Israel is still God's chosen people. We Gentiles are grafted in, not a replacement. It doesn't mean every Jew, of course, but just saying this popularized Jew hatred goes far beyond disagreeing with war strategies. Bro. It's so self-hateful in terms of grafted in. But I guess a lot of this is the boomer mentality I was talking about, though. That's it.
I think John 14:6 is pretty clear. I'm the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Yes, he's pretty precise there. You know, no one.
And
Dude,
last I checked, the Jews tend to believe that Christ was the son of a whore who is currently boiling in shit and cum in hell. So it kind of precludes one from believing in Christ if one believes that he is a sorcerer.
Yeah.
And other such blasphemies.
So I got my links here for the cruise thing, but now that it's all out, we're gonna watch the whole thing. However, I've also, the regime change shit is back again, right back to regime change. We have to go fight this war in the Middle East so we can install democracy. Because again, yes, it's worked so many times.
We need to go and depose that regime that we installed in the 60s.
I love democracy.
I don't think there's been a regime in Iran since the 60s that wasn't installed by the Americans.
I know. Netanyahu speaks of regime change in Iran. What he means is regime destruction. Israeli Prime Minister has no interest in Israel. Blah, blah, blah. In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, Netanyahu, Israel's PM, pontificated on a theme that has become increasingly attached to in recent years, that Israel, under his leadership, would not simply attempt to dismantle Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs through military attack, but in the process would usher in regime change in Tehran. The government in Tehran, he said, is very weak, adding that, given the opportunity, 80% of the people would throw these theological thugs out.
He's not inaccurate there, to be honest. The Ayatollah has been fangless for fucking decades.
Well, yeah. And allegedly, and I don't doubt that this is true, a lot of Iranians are very unhappy with their government.
Let's face it, the only reason that the Ayatollah's even around is to bull wash for the other departments. And most of it is to bull wash for the military, who are the real, power behind the throne. That's my understanding, at the very least. It may change since then.
Install Zelensky.
No, fuck it. Install Eamon Wright. It'd be funny.
Install Ubuntu.
No, someone suggested I install LXLX on Windows 7. No, fuck you. Come this far. I'm not backing down now.
The list of targets in Iran hit in the last 2 days appear to confirm that
Give
Israel
it to
may be... Jeb! It's finally his turn!
Put Jeb in a metal mask and let him blow up his
100% Jeb! 10,000-year reign. God King.
Oh god, no! A horrible mental image has flashed before my mind's eye.
Do you imagine him as like a giant worm?
No, King Baldo the fourth.
Oh no, absolutely the fourth.
It's just rackets and tinfoil.
Why?
Probably caught leprosy at this point, the dirty bugger.
Like, all I'm saying is Jeb can still win. All right, 2 more weeks.
It is a lot funnier if you picture it as Jeb's face in like pewter. Like a fancy outfit.
Well, it's so close to Am. It's only got 1 extra letter. You know, it's a nice short name. Definitely an acronym for something.
Joldvin. King Joldvin the Fourth. Goodness. Oh god. I'm now picturing him like the outfit that Saturninus wears in Titus Andronicus, the film from 1999, where it's like a completely beige, like a World War I German like officer's uniform, but it's like beige, like cream couch color, but with like a leopard print trim. It's the trashiest fucking fit I've ever seen in my fucking life. I love it. But that with like Jeb's face in pewter, like a fucking Roman cavalryman's mask. Someone out there has probably been taken by the spirit of that and is drawing it as we speak. We can only hope, because it's a very cursed mental image.
Yeah. For all that he views himself as an expert on its internal politics, Netanyahu has never visited Iran. I don't think that you need to necessarily do that. I hate that argument. To know anything about a country. His knowledge of the country is filtered through intelligence briefings, which see Iran as a hostile problem, and through the lens of pro-Israeli think tanks. This is The Guardian, by the way. If Netanyahu his comments appear eerily familiar, it's because they are. The same Netanyahu and Iran hawks in the U.S. pushed a similar argument in the run-up to the invasion of Iraq in 2003. This is the thing, though. The lefties are on point with the Israel stuff. Sort of. They're more likely to be than the conservative outlets that cannot get enough.
They are this close to getting on the right fucking line, but they'll never be able to breach that gap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, okay, so I use the Western Journal a lot, and I have mentioned before about the Western Journal as a news aggregator, is that it's quite nice, and they actually even like their articles oftentimes that are posted just, exclusively to the Western Journal. However, when it comes to international politics, they are extreme boomer Christ cons, okay? And hyper Zionist, just cannot use the Western Journal as a news aggregator for anything involving Israel.
Someone just said Lisan al-Jaib.
Al-Jaib. Based.
Oh, goodness me.
Iraqis and, like Iranians, the world was told, would welcome the removal of Saddam. The Middle East would be reshaped. We've seen this happen. Now... I guess the Zoomers don't really remember it as much, so maybe that's, this is all new to Zoomies, maybe.
Listen, America can't pull out a fucking driveway these days. Like, goodness me, I've seen Mormon fathers with better pull-out game than the American military-industrial system.
Well, the pull-out from Afghanistan was an absolute embarrassment.
Kabul was like an actual militaristic goat fuck that was criminal at almost every layer.
And that's saying something, because they actually fuck goats there.
Yeah. Oh god. Almost everyone who's gone out there has come up with some story referred to as the goat story, and they're all different stories.
No. Meaningful regime change, however, whatever that means in practical terms. Thank you. Actually, dude, I hate it. Isn't it? It's so funny.
It's refreshing to get to be on the other side of the tug of war for a change.
And see, James Lindsay...
So, here we are in like the normal, I say that in the semi-normal side of things.
But the thing is,
almost nice.
James Lindsay would look at that and go, woke right. Like,
how was this caused by Yaldabaoth?
Yes, how does Yaldabaoth responsible for this? And is Archangel Michael involved?
Bro's out here put the copy of Persona 5 down, bro. I'm sorry. Put that shit down. You have no social links left. You ain't got that lifeline no more.
Like, just
fuck up and fuck off.
Learn how to understand power politics, Lindsay. Get out of your weird bubble, and you would maybe be able to understand.
So bloody smug on about power politics. Oh, what's that? Unrestrained force is basically the honest idea of absolute violence being the absolute form of authority is true. Yeah, no fucking shit.
That's my point.
Stop acting smug about it.
No, I wasn't. Oh, sorry if I came off as smug. That wasn't my intent. It was like
power politics.
No. By that I meant figure out the most. That's not fart huffing. My point was that it's like the most simple shit imaginable. Is that all politics is
Stop acting like you've just found out about peanut butter and chocolate being together.
That's not what I was doing. I was saying Lindsay needs to figure out the most simple
I am
shit
begging
imaginable.
everyone in the politics end of YouTube to please pull your heads out your asses. The pageantry is really going to be what kills us. I am begging once again for a return to some fucking normality amongst our peers.
Support. In Iraq, where ultimately an incompetent U.S. effort was made at nation building, and Libya, where it was not, there followed periods of bloody chaos, which continues in Libya. Ironically, it's not a story unfamiliar in Iran's own revolution. While there is a tendency, though historical foreshortening, to see the Islamic Revolution emerging fully formed in 1979, the reality is that the fall of the Shah triggered a period of competition in Iran between conservative Islamists, communists, and different factions within both the Shia clergy and the revolutionary cadres. Keep in mind that these people were Shia, by the way, because I have heard that comes up in the Tucker Carlson thing.
Yeah, Shia, I believe, are the ones who are, generally speaking, a bit more... are bit less murdery, by and large, if I recall correctly.
This actually kind of relates to the James Lindsay thing, in that if something is true, it is true. It doesn't matter who's saying it. That sides-cucked nonsense. It's in the same way that, for example, Islam is right about women. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wrong, a broken clock and all that. Yeah, like Iran is like it's the major
not in terms
adherence
of beating them and physical violence, but in terms
also its whole thing of like, oh, let's try and make gay dudes into troons. That doesn't work, boys.
Oh, that's a total American invention from the left to try and.
That does not surprise me in the slightest.
No. By that I mean the idea.
I've seen it bandied around by both sides that Iran like forces transitions on people.
They do. When I say the invention of it is that they're actually very pro-trans. That's a total invention of
where's
people
all
like
that
Hassan
support
Piker.
that was around a little while ago?
And the notion that Netanyahu and Israel will be seen as a distant savior is a dubious one at best. Iranian activists, people who fought for freedom and justice all their lives, first of all know that their value has little to do with people like Netanyahu. Arash Azizi, author of the book What Iranians Want, told CNN earlier this week. Ali Vaez argued that the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace Pivotal States podcast, only days before Israel launched its attack, that historically many Iranians, himself included, have been nervous of sudden change. I was born after the revolution. Obviously, there was a high degree of dissatisfaction within the country even in the 1990s when I was a teenager. I think there was a sense in my generation and in my parents' generation that radical change often results in a worse outcome. It ends in grief. It rarely brings about a better situation. Yeah. And you also just cannot install a government on top of people that they do not want.
You inevitably get friction with the world because it's the change of state.
And it's not just about what people want, by the way. It's about maintaining the power there.
How can you prevent the complete fracturing or complete autocracy of the nation after a regime change of this type? Mm-hmm. How much of the actual how much infrastructure remains of the previous government for you to be able to control the actual region, or is it just going to balkanize into a dozen different little tribal states? Are you going to see a return to the the pre-revolutionary era where everything was more westernized?
Yes. What's clear is that Israel sees regime destruction as an end in its own right, with no interest in Iran's future beyond weakening and destabilizing a regional rival. By the way, I've seen that. I haven't looked into it enough, but it looks like Saudi Arabia is on board with fucking up Iran a little bit, which is very bizarre to me.
Saudi Arabia is also on the verge of accepting. Saudi Arabia is this.
They've been so westernized.
The current prince was in talks to accept Israel as a state.
Yes.
That was right before it all kicked off with fucking November 7th, all that bullshit.
Yeah. Which is astonishing to say that Saudi Arabia is becoming westernized, but yeah. So, and that's a regional rival for them. Yes, in terms of their exported goods, similar to Iran. Now Israel is arming violent criminal factions in Gaza against Hamas amid the overwhelming sense that Netanyahu has no plans for Gaza's future, even as he is reducing it to rubble. Netanyahu's enthusiasm for regime change appears to be viewed, for now at least, with some skepticism in Washington. Yes, some, but it's tepid. And I really want to get into where Trump actually is on it. And I suppose we could make predictions. Making predictions largely pointless. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But...
Cover for me for one moment. I need to refresh my brain.
Yeah. But I'm not 100% sure exactly how Trump's going to fall on this. He's doing the saber rattling, but he's been pushed on this issue before, so we'll see. Right now, it is possible he's just doing kayfabe. I don't think it is personally, but it's possible it's kayfabe. I think that's a bit of cope. I could be wrong though. I actually really hope I'm wrong on that one. I hope it is kayfabe. They might be more comfortable with regime change than we are, a U.S. official told Axios. They may be more comfortable with destroying the country than we are. Speaking of Israel destroying Iran. Iraq and Libya also demonstrate the practical difficulties of a violent transition between regimes. In Iraq, the U.S. and other officials promoted figures from the Iraqi exile diaspora, such as Ahmad Chalabi, while having, for a protracted period, a negligible grasp of emerging centers of influence or tribal and sectarian tensions. In Libya, in the immediate aftermath of Gaddafi, the dynamic was even more in evidence as international missions, including European, struggled as midwives to a transitional government without authority, as challenged by warlordism, even as other powers, including the United Arab Emirates and Russia, moved in to the vacuum. Long-term Iran watchers are also highly dubious that Israel can engineer a path to regime destruction through aerial warfare. Even in the event of decapitation with the killing of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, they point out that the Israeli offensive could just as easily allow the regime to retrench and accelerate efforts to acquire a nuclear weapon. And this is the thing about the nuclear weapon stuff, and I'll talk about this more when Bill gets back. But let's just reminder about this. Oh, Iran's about to get a nuclear weapon any day now. Just to be clear, they've been 2 weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon for my whole life, 35 fucking years. Every single time. Well, we have to stop them from getting a nuke. It's urgent. We gotta stop it right now. Well, it's been urgent for 35 years. At least. I mean, I'm just saying from my perspective, my whole entire life, it's been 2 weeks away. More widely, the risk of Israel's efforts to destabilize Iran could lend new legitimacy to the clerical regime. Even in Middle Eastern countries, profoundly suspicious of it as they grow increasingly anxious over Israel's increasingly violent reach.
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm back now. More importantly, so now
Hello.
I've saved us from this podcast. They've actually gotten our confirmation that there's no nukes in... They're not even attempting to make nukes in Iran, and it would take them at least 3 years if they started today. There's a report out. What this boils down to is Iran breached Mossad's security network and leaked a bunch of stuff, and now they're over to smash the teeth down the throat.
Yep.
You made us look bad. Time for you to die.
With Israel's expansion of its offensive to include Iran, there's no telling where the boundaries of this battleground will end, King Abdullah of Jordan said on Tuesday. His country has faced the recent challenge of hosting both Syrian and Iraqis fleeing their civil conflicts. And that is a threat to people everywhere. Ultimately, this conflict must end, he noted. Yep. So that's the regime change stuff. We are back to regime change. We have to install a democracy so they can become just like America, because it's so great in the West.
It's so important that no one has nukes but America. That's why we sold yellow cake uranium to the Russians during Obama's administration, which Hillary Clinton oversaw personally.
Mm-hmm.
And profited from.
Yep. Yeah, you know who has nukes already? Israel, right? Yeah, exactly, Kevin.
Israel, most of which they stole. In fact, I think that, unironically, Russia has more nukes that they purchased from America than Israel has.
Yeah, wouldn't be shocked by that. However, Whoopi Goldberg, keeping it real.
Never getting a Sister Act 3.
Talking about how black people in the U.S. are just as oppressed as people living in Iran. Because I guess that the way that you get the libs on board with this, because they're mad at the Jews right now,
to play the progressive stack,
is play the progressive stack and say, the women, but it requires, with the trans and the gays, I'll get to that in a minute. Oh, the women, they're forced to get married, and they're forced to be dressed conservatively, and
there's genital mutilation on both sides.
Well, yeah, unfortunately. But yes, I mean, look, I totally agree on the genital mutilation, but I agree with that for men as well, and that's anti-Semitic.
Listen, just because on this podcast, we do not support the Iranian regime, not one bit. After all, we don't like the Muslims or the Jews. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that.
I don't care about their sandpit conflict at all. And I'm tired of pretending like I'm supposed to pretend to care. I don't. Let them blow each other up.
Give the Holy Land to Jeb. It will be really funny.
I don't know. Give the Holy Land to Rome. There you go. And Italy wouldn't do a very good job.
I
don't know.
Where are we going to get 12 legions of Roman legionnaires and a paedophile emperor in such short notice? Berlusconi's already dead. I think he is. This better not be like how I thought Ken Watanabe died.
Oh no.
Turns out he's still alive. I was convinced he died after Last Samurai. I got fucking Mandela affected.
That's happened to me before. Who did I get convinced was dead?
I was convinced.
David Attenborough.
Yeah, I was convinced Clint Eastwood was dead. Turns out he's still alive and kicking. I thought he died like late last year.
That's so weird how sometimes you have a vivid memory of someone dying.
I seem to like. It's like Yakov Smirnov's like, somehow that motherfucker's still kicking around, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Anywho, so this is going to be the Lib movement to get them on board with the war, and they will be, trust me, it's the oppressed people of Iran under the Muslim regime. Again, they're going to struggle with selling them on the gays and the trannies, because it's like, oh, but they have so many trans people. Not explaining that.
Where the fuck is Michael Moore and his podgy little where is his probably Ozempic-addled little corpse of a body to fucking throw hands right now? Where is that pudgy prick when he's needed? Where's System of a Down to put out a surprisingly robust anti-war anthem like Boom?
Yeah. Anyway, here's Whoopi.
It's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
How long ago was that, Whoopi? Versus things that are happening now. Like, this is pathetic.
Hey, remember when we overthrew the Libyan regime and then they installed a slaver state that was selling the local populace as slave labor, and they're still doing it today in open-air markets where people are literally, like, held up by their ankles on cordage like a bushel of pheasant?
I do kind of enjoy this sort of, like, looking glass into normie. Like I said, I wonder if The View is exclusively watched by podcasters. Because...
Yeah, you motherfuckers need to stop hate watching things. I'm convinced many people went to see Civil War, your friend group.
Because I wonder if this does reflect the way people... certain demographic, boomer women think.
I've got a term which is our friend Dusty, which is taken from a Mandalore gaming story. The idea of the friend that no one invited but has blagged their way in regardless.
Yeah.
I think the majority of lib media is that everyone is convinced that everyone else is enjoying it, and they're just bystander affected into just sitting through it.
I think that probably is a lot of
I think that's definitely true of a lot of right-wing media. Fuck me, a lot of right-wing comedy is fucking atrocious.
We know that co-viewing increases reported enjoyment of media. So that is, if you are watching something with someone else, the likelihood that you will enjoy that piece of media, well, it depends on the person actually. But as long as it's somebody that you're generally on good terms with, like, it increases the enjoyment of the media. Why I put the caveats on there is that if you're on a date and the person that you're with is ugly or aggressive, then that decreases enjoyment of the media. But
you say that, but I watched El Topo at Kino Night once and it was a fucking disaster.
But when you're not actually present in the co-viewing situation, but you think other people, you know other people are watching it, then you have to fill in the gaps as to who that person is. And probably with all positive things because they're on your sides. So it's more that sidesism stuff. So, this is how other liberals think, so I should think this way too and agree with it. Yes, and then this just completely false consensus stuff occurs as a result of it. Yeah. Anyway, here we go.
I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
Listen,
killed for
I'm sorry.
Well, they look like around. No, I can't have my hair showing.
I mean, Sunny is dressed. Not Sunny. What's her name? I always forget. Sunny's this one.
Thought one.
The conservative one. She is dressed relatively conservatively, although she got those pumps on, bro. But yeah, her hair is not up.
I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you, as
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good. Whoever does it, it's not.
But Whoopi, they've got lots of transgenders, right? Dude,
I'm not interested in indulging in the.
But they're super tolerant towards the transes. They treat them completely the same as natal females. Try to circle the squares on that one in your progressive stack.
Good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone.
You know what? I would love for Whoopi Goldberg to move to Iran or whatever. Just send her over there.
Just don't let them see anything that she made after Sister Act 2.
Oh, just to be clear about the last name Goldberg, guys, I'd like to point out why Whoopi Goldberg's name is Whoopi Goldberg.
I forgot about this.
Oh, she just did that to better her career in Hollywood.
Yeah, in her words, having a Jewish name seemed like it would help.
Yeah, just to be clear, this is
not her real name
a woman
at all.
Who took the last name Goldberg because she thought it would help her succeed in Hollywood if the Jews were to think she was one of them. There you go.
Her real name is Karen Elaine Johnson.
Yeah. Just saying.
Listen, let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that.
Clip that, never show anything on the side of it. We use it to blackmail her.
Yeah.
All know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot
talking about the United States.
They need to be educated. They need to have our propaganda shoved down their fucking throats. Their propaganda isn't our propaganda.
Who fired the bullet that the kids can be catching in your neighborhoods?
Good question. Yeah, great question, Whoopi. Who's firing all the bullets?
Is it another 40 cal that's going through two walls because some gangbanger missed?
What is the color of the hand holding the fucking pistol at a crooked angle? I wonder what it could be.
I'm talking about
nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent.
Good.
But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way.
Oof. Just funny.
It's nice for someone to acknowledge that, you know, America is like the foremost of the first world countries and has a standard of living far in excess of what any other country can really dream of.
Well, yeah, but it's such an interesting thing to come out of Whoopi, you know, considering.
Well, now the fucking tug of wars that pivoted.
Right, exactly. Like I said, they're all on board. All the people are all on board with this shit. So, of course, all of a sudden, we need to free the Iranian people because they're so oppressed as they throw gays off roofs, even though I'm sure earlier this fucking year, or at least in the last couple years, if she had said anything about Iran, it would have been, well, they allow, you know, transgender people. They're so based. Or something to that effect. I don't think
you remember how Israel's an apartheid state?
Right.
They're allowed to have it. So we're still giving the South Africans fucking grief over it today.
Well, no, the lefties shifted on that. They're anti that right now. But, what did I say when they killed those 2 staffers? I said this was going to lead to escalation for this. Because the lefties were allowed. They were allowed to go insane with the anti-Israel shit. It was intentional to make Hassan Piker the #1 streamer on Twitch. It was absolutely intentional. So they could... Then, post facto, you can go, whoa, look at all these crazy lunatics. There's millions of them in the country. They're insane, and they're all terrorists. And we're right back to 9/11, and we're right back to Patriot Act, aren't we?
That was getting repealed this year, remember that?
I know.
So much for that.
Not anymore, I don't think so. What? It was, Patriot Act's back on the docket? I don't fucking think so.
Right, we're back into the exact same good old days after 9/11.
Boomers.
We're back on the sundowner hours.
And all these fucking conservatards are gonna line up to not only not
over a wall that's
repeal
so
the
far...
Patriot Act, but to enforce and strengthen it more staunchly. Yeah. I guarantee it.
Yep, and they'll fucking get Trump in on the idea for the sheer idea that he might have a 3rd term out of it.
Well, I don't know about that.
So the one...
But that's why they let them do this shit. That's why it's why they pushed us on Piker, who was just like, yeah, man, fucking, I'll have on this terrorist, bro. He's cool. He likes One Piece, bro.
Folks at home, now is your opportunity to reach across the aisle, and you can offer a hand for a handshake or throttle the bastards. Your option.
Yeah.
To try the first and the second, because now, if we do not nip this in the bud, it will continue to get worse and worse and worse. This war was essentially Iran getting rolled over in a fucking weekend.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But yeah. So about Trump's war hawkishness, right? Whether or not it's saber rattling and whatever, I don't really know. I get the feeling it's not, but we'll see. As I said before, this is from 2019, though.
Military to strike Iran, you pull back at the last moment. You were criticized by neocons in Washington for doing that. They wanted you to strike Iran. Why do you think they wanted?
And I was given a lot of credit by most people. A lot of people gave me a lot.
The public was on your side for sure.
A lot of people said that was a great presidential moment, which was, rather shocking to hear. Before I sent them out, they had to give me everything I wanted to know by 7 o'clock. They walked in, they gave me everything, but they didn't tell me how many people would die, how many Iranians. I know a lot of Iranians from New York City, and they're great people. They're all great people. We're all great, right? Iranian or not. I said, how many people are going to die? And they said, at least 150. I said, so let's get it. They shot down an unmanned, not a brand new exactly thing either, the drone. They shot it down, and we're going to now kill 150 or many more people. You never know. Once you start doing what we do, what they do, and nobody does it better than us, you don't know how many people are going to die. So I said, I don't like that. I don't like it. And I stopped it before. We didn't send them out. There was a little incorrect reporting. It was like we sent them out and we pulled them, but we didn't do that. But we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And you may even agree on that, because I know.
Remember, this is 6 years ago, though. We can't let them have the nuclear weapon. 6 years. Been going on for 35 at least.
Where you stand. The show's great. I watch it a lot. But you can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And you can't let certain other countries have nuclear weapons. Too devastating.
Insane world police shit. So...
If we're going to take this stance, just fucking pull the fucking tooth out of the root, call it what it is.
You see what I mean about
Christian nations are the only ones who have got the wherewithal to have nukes and not employ them.
Yeah, true.
So they're having a lot of difficulty in their country right now. And hopefully at some point they'll come back and they'll say, we're going to make a deal. See what happens.
Oh, Trump 2019. Yeah. Very consistent, I guess.
Can we just, okay, if we're going to be doing all this dumb horse shit and rolling over nations like it's fucking early 2000s again, can we let the Japanese remilitarize, because it'd be really funny.
Yeah, it would be really funny.
And you think North Korea is going to be a problem, this will put the wind up them.
So, there's this clip between Tucker and Bannon. I think this was before the interview with cruise missile.
and the incentives to pull the U.S. in are so profound. I guess if I could just say one political thing, watching Donald Trump, who of course you know very well, who I think at core is sincere about peace. I mean,
big time.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, that's real. Watching him done so wrong, the lies. Oh, he knew all along. You know, the peace process was fake. Steve Witkoff was playing along. That is a lie. That's a lie. I know. That's a lie. Those guys meant it.
Bald-faced lie.
It's a total lie. And all these people that Mark Levin and all of the minions who are running cover for a foreign government, they're all telling that same lie. And I feel for President Trump, and I don't know this, I'm just guessing, but at this point, I feel like he just has to kind of roll with it. You know, what do you say? You don't want to get in an argument about that right in the middle of a war.
No, I think he reiterated last night that we got to get back to the peace part. They got to lay down the guns.
They're lying about him. He sincerely, even now, he sincerely believes, whether he's right or not, I can't say, but that this could be a predicate to a peace deal, what we're seeing now. He really thinks that and wants that, and the other side is just like, no, a peace deal is immoral.
It's the other side, but the other side also has.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know which way Trump actually is, and that's obviously intentional on his part. I think if it is saber rattling, you would want it to be convincing. But I don't know. It's also Israel, and I can see this being full-on return to freedom prize. Whether or not Trump goes for it and actually goes to open war.
What they do is what they can get away with.
Yeah.
Hold their feet to the fire, boys and girls.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys at home, and spread the fucking word about this, to make sure that your representatives know full well that if they try some dumb bullshit, they'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and
The
pretend that
apparatus.
voting what is worth the fuck.
Yeah.
Here, this is what happened
in
Ukraine,
the U.S.
when Ukraine attacked.
Yes.
When Ukraine attacked, we still haven't asked Ratcliffe, was the CIA involved? There's zero probability Ukraine could attack that deep into Russia without some involvement. Here, the exact same thing. Why was Tulsi Gabbard not invited to the Camp David meeting all day?
You know why.
Why Tulsi Gabbard still to the American public has said. The last public statement is that the program was not back up and running. And now we have from Bibi by himself on Fox by Brent Baer that the thing was 12 to 13 months away. It wasn't this weekend. I know. And this is by his own thing. And we also know that it was a decapitation, as we said on Friday. It wasn't just about the nuclear program. It's a decapitation.
So even by Bibi's own words recently, they are years away from having nukes. And it's always the same thing. It's always that same kind of time frame, isn't it? 1 to 2 years away. It's been that way for 35 years.
What they mean is they have no nukes, and they could potentially get that far if we help them, maybe.
I guess.
Of total leadership. So this is a total regime change, which, by the way, you may have a plan for regime change, is fine, but you got to bring the American people along. Let me go back.
By the way, I said that publicly last week.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I reckon that we don't know for certain, but we're reasonably sure that Israel has a bunch of nukes they shouldn't have because they took them from. They've either salvaged them off American ships that have sank with them, the various of the broken arrow scenarios that's happened.
Right.
But there's a couple of other broken arrow scenarios that are unaccounted for. I reckon that if they were to get pushed on the matter of nukes belonging to the Iranians, I get the feeling that one of those nukes that went missing would mysteriously turn up with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah, right.
Because Israel's got access to them. They can just grab them, sneak them in.
Yeah.
Plant the fucking evidence. The chances are the people who are going to be doing the investigation are going to be the people that they are working with.
Yes. I think so. I mean, well, obviously.
The point of this is regime change. I know everyone involved. I know. I'm telling the truth. I have no weird motive here at all. I don't hate Israel. I'm not.
Plus, you know the players, and you went and you know the Iraq situation.
This isn't a regime change effort, and why not just say that? But
that's the thing. They are saying it now. They've all. This is from a couple of days ago. This is from 2 days ago. Since then, we are just overt. I agree. They're talking about regime change, and they don't took them like a day after this to just outright say, "Yeah, it's a regime change." We're right back to 2003.
Oh, you're a Holocaust denier for saying that. Well,
I know, it's infuriating, isn't
Let's
it?
have a rational conversation about what our aims are here. And maybe you can convince me that we need to support a regime change war in
You're
Iran. Tell me how that plays out in a.
Well, yeah, I guess you haven't been updated. Oh no, don't you get it? Don't you get it, Tucker? America's young men
everyone joked,
have
like,
to
when
fight and die for Israel.
So no, we need to kill all of Israel, said all the left. Meanwhile, Kanye's just been cancelled for hating Jews.
I know, isn't it? Would you actually like take a step out and look back at things in a timeline sort of perspective? Like, try to make any of this make sense. So, Kanye bad because he made a song called Heil Hitler and also has talked a lot about the Jews and has for a very long time at this point. That's bad. Kanye bad because anti-Semite. But at the same time, you've got all these leftists that are out there protesting. They've all convinced themselves that, Israel bad, although for very bizarre reasons, not identical to the people on the Groyper side of things on the right, who of course are very Israel bad. It's such a fucking mess. I don't know how you even pull these things apart. People are all convinced of it for so many different numbers of reasons that no one's even having the same conversation about this shit. Yeah, like the lefties love it just because apartheid bad, colonialism bad. But then they end up saying the same shit as the Groypers, and it's really funny. Not that James Lindsay is right, he is wrong.
Country of 90 million people. Have you thought it through? Do you even care? And the answer is no. We have a economic and political and demographic crisis in Europe because of U.S.-backed, Israel-backed
Syria
wars in the Middle East. That's what's destroyed
Holy
Europe,
shit.
where my ancestors came from. And I spend a lot of time there, and I love European culture, which is Christian culture. And it's destroyed that. And, shut up, you're not allowed to care. Who's making the rules here?
Dude, I do like Tucker sometimes. I can't help it. I like, over the years, he's been pretty consistent in my book and being like the only guy in mainstream news politics at all. At all.
Who's allowed to name the Jews.
Well, who will just say stuff like that? I don't trust him either, but I don't trust anybody.
He's definitely controlled opposition. He's like
right, yes.
A very thinly bleeding wound trying to get us some fucking blood.
But at least, or maybe, I don't know, maybe he's just kind of a midwit. He at least comes off as earnest. Like I said, we're not a midwit. He would be the opposite. It wouldn't be a midwit. Like the low IQ version, but maybe he's low IQ, high charisma, and he just really is on the other side and nudicing in the same way the high IQ people do.
Of course, he's dim as a fucking broken bulb.
Let's see. This is, again, the Western Journal, like I said. But that's why I find them interesting to look at right now in particular, because they're so Zionist. Trump helped Netanyahu pull off a great deception in Iran attack report. President Trump reportedly helped lull Iran into a false sense of security through the actions he took in the days leading up to Israel's surprise attack against the Islamic regime. That's the other thing I'd like to I know I said it when we started the segment, but just keep in mind, Israel started this shit, okay? Like, it keeps getting lost in the noise.
Iran's like net security crowd managed to breach Mossad, and in retaliation, Israel started scattershotting some of their nuclear enrichment sites, supposed nuclear enrichment sites.
Yes, but
they were literally and they then retrenched their position, said we're on high alert from an Iranian attack because they had just sent a bunch of fucking they had just hit a bunch of airstrikes in Iran.
Yes, these enrichment zones. Oh, dude.
Literally crying out in pain as they struck someone.
As well as top leaders of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Axios reported that Israeli officials told reporters during a briefing hours after the operation began that it coordinated with Washington. Two Israeli officials claimed to Axios that Trump and his aides were pretending to oppose an Israeli attack in public and didn't express opposition in private. We had a clear U.S. green light, one said, according to the news outlet. The goal, they say, was to convince Iran that no attack was imminent and to make sure Iranians on Israel's target list wouldn't move to new locations, Axios added. I mean, I totally believe this is true. We don't have any evidence of it. Not really. I guess. Netanyahu's aides... But I think the thing is, I think they're bragging about it here, right? This is a brag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we totally... I would see this as fucking complete condemnation of Trump, if true. Not surprising. This has always been his weakness, for obvious reasons. Familial involvement, you know, business involvement.
You can't trust the new fucking prince that's lined up for Iran, because his daughter's married to a Jewish businessman, a high-ranking, basically a Israeli oligarch.
Yeah. So I think this is a brag, and they felt comfortable putting this out there. Netanyahu's aides even briefed Israeli reporters that Trump had tried to put the brakes on the Israeli airstrike in a call on Monday, when in reality the call dealt with coordination ahead of the attack, Israeli officials now say. Leading credence to the reporting, our post Trump made on social media Friday morning, Trump wrote, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance! Exclamation point. In an earlier post, he stated,
"This really does smack of that he was trying to keep the Israelis kind of waylaid, so to speak. He was trying to keep them appeased. And now they went, okay, we're just going to say that you were coordinating with us ahead of time so that you're forced to side with us publicly."
I mean, it's possible. Because if he says no, that's going to be a whole row.
Yeah. He'll lose a lot of right-wing support.
It probably
Quote,
best to do is just not address it, unless he gets brought up to him, I guess.
They're trying to nail him to the wall, so he has to address it there.
Yeah. In an earlier post, he stated, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them, in the strongest of words, to just do it, but no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the U.S. makes the best and most lethal military... most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world, by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, and much more to come, and they know how to use it, Trump added. The U.S. called for Iran to cease enriching uranium, which its leadership refused to do. Fox News host Brett Baer reported that he spoke with Trump Thursday night during the attacks, that the president told him that he had been in touch with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu several times in the recent days. The president's aware of Israel's actions before it happened. Baer said, further, the U.S. would help defend Israel if needed against any Iranian retaliation. Like, the whole thing is, again, they started it. They can't even be the victim in this. And yet Israel's being treated as the victim. They started it. I know. 2 more weeks till they'll have nukes. 2 more weeks for forever, for the last 35 years. They fired the first fucking shot. It's I just feel insane. You know? How does anyone fall for this?
On an unrelated thing that's just cropped up on my feed, apparently one guy who's currently in fish tank life, his brother's in prison for life for stabbing a hooker to death in an Islamic terrorist attack.
Well, speaking of Sam Hyde, there we go. Oh my god. So, yeah. Where was I? Was there any more? No, I think reporter asked Trump at the White House earlier today whether the strike by Israel against Iran was imminent. I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like there's something very good to happen. He coyly responded. Trump noted he stopped a full-on war between India and Pakistan from breaking out last month, which he thought.
Can we swap those round? Can we swap those round, please?
Yeah.
Like, okay, those 2 idiots can go back to what they were doing. Can we stop this bullshit?
Yeah.
In the Near East, please?
The implication seemed to be that there was still hope that the Israeli strike against Iran might be averted. Maybe. This is fucking cute, though. Wowee. And this is the narrative that you're gonna see people running with. I can't believe it. But this is going to be that Iran is responsible for the assassination attempts on Trump. The 2 assassination attempts,
which were carried out
by
one teenager who is the most square-headed motherfucker I've ever seen, and one person who looks like he was built from Gary Busey's spare parts.
Yes.
Both white as a fucking lily.
But now, according to Netanyahu, according to Bibi, Those people were put in place by Iran. Yeah.
Threat, and I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one.
Yeah.
Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner.
When did
they understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them.
When did you tell President Trump you were going to launch these strikes?
Dude, this is the important next question, but you're going to see that. You're going to see people fucking buying this. The boomer brain rot is going to get this part of the messaging translated into it. It was Iran who tried to kill Trump.
Iran couldn't organize the piss up in a fucking brewery.
I know.
You need to nip this shit in the bud when you see it, folks. Do
Bill,
not abide bullshit in your fucking presence.
Could I pardon you for a drink, please? I'm losing my voice. I didn't want to. Cause you could.
It's okay. I was getting
you could do it faster.
You should have told me earlier. I grabbed you one then.
I know. Thank you. I didn't want to bother you. The other thing this is moving into though is when did Bibi find out exactly, or when did he and not when did Bibi find out, excuse me. When did Trump find out that Israel was going to launch these attacks? What?
Don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know.
Scotty doesn't know, yes. Here we go.
Right. Look, I've been in constant contact with President Trump. We've known each other for many years. And obviously we informed our American friends and President Trump, our great friend, ahead of time. We did.
Right, we just found this out now when we decided to go to war with Iran. Yeah, apparently.
You knew about it, of course.
I mean, there were reports that President Trump kind of helped you achieve your strategic surprise by publicly urging you not to attack when he already knew you had decided to do it. So you were closely coordinating with the U.S. throughout this process.
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump, will make the decisions that are best for America.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And not best for Israel. Dude. I mean, did they get caught? I don't know. There's no way they would have admitted to this. This is all fucking planned as shit. They want to give the impression that, oh, we got caught with it, I think. But no, this is planned as shit. Obviously.
And that's the way it is. He understands that I, as the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
Right. Yeah. If you've researched either attack, you already know how much of an absurd lie this is. Yeah. Well, it is an absurd lie. Just the whole thing. This is so fucking ridiculous. Both in terms of Iran's responsible for the assassination attempts to try and get MAGA on board with the forever wars.
If their top lips are bow, they are your foe. That is just the rule.
What was
his enemy speaks, you listen.
What was one of the most important things, I think, even for people who are more independently minded, and there's not, and by that I mean they are not really strong Republicans or Democrats, who don't really much vote anyway. But if we're talking about a swing towards Trump, which I also believe that Trump was essentially installed, he was not installed, but he was allowed to win, because again, changes in that. And now I've lost my whole train of thought on what I was trying to say there. I got too off on a tangent.
It's still in Israel short at the end of the day.
Dang it. I had a thing
on. They're in short supply now.
Oh, man.
It must have been bullshit.
It must have been, because I can't remember what the point of that was now. There was a reason for that tangent. It'll come to me in the middle of the night. Or something, you know? Oh. But don't you dare. This is not... It's not Zionism, guys. Don't you dare criticize Israel. U.S. officially removed Colonel Nathan McCormick from his position at the Joint Chiefs of Staff for posts calling Israel a death cult and saying America's acting as Israel's proxy.
No, he would have had to be removed for these posts either way because it's operational security and it's morale.
Yes. However, look, if America's not acting as Israel's proxy, why did Trump?
What the fuck
Obviously, he knew about all this shit for days. Knew it was gonna happen. Whatever. Now he's making saber-rattling posts about it. Come on.
It's just this false bravado bullshit. I think a good chunk of us are too
many layers of kayfabe, and then that's like the intent. Oh, the official said this. Oh no.
You shouted disbelief. No one's buying this tripe anymore.
Right.
Except the boomers.
Well, the boomers, yeah. Do you want me to set up a watch together for the video, or just go with it and tell me to pause?
Which video was that be?
The cruise missile and Kooky Tucker.
Now, keep in mind, it's 11:15 now. What time frame? What's the duration of the...
Yeah, it's long as fuck. Let's just we'll watch a little bit of it, see how we feel. I will...
Senator, thank you.
By next week, I'll have, like, clips of it or something, the highlights. But it just came out right before the show, so we'll just start watching it. It's 2 hours. We're not going to get through all of it, but let's see what we can get through, shall we? I can put it on maybe, like, a little bit higher speed. Let's do... 1.5. We'll see how that works.
Let's do 1.25. I think 1.5 might be a bit too fast.
Okie doke.
Thank you very much for spending the time to have this conversation.
It's good to be with you.
So you'd come out for regime change in Iran, as distinct just from taking out the nuclear sites.
No surprise.
What does regime change look like in Iran?
Somebody else in charge.
How do you get there?
Look, that ultimately has to be a popular uprising from the people. And it's not a complicated question. Is America better off?
Oh, real quick, before we get into this, but this is... What is regime change means? This is important. I want to get the super chats before we get into the video, because once we're in here, we're in this shit, son. Let's see. Arden Party for 2 Canadians says, Trump, we must... what's this we, pale face? Yeah. Hats Off for 5 says, Japan has started remilitarizing. There was more activity in that direction starting a decade ago and officially started remilitarizing in 2022. Yeah, I had heard of that. I think, but that, and specifically we were talking about Japan well, what would it be? Wouldn't be I guess just nuclearizing its military. That would be, let them play world police if someone's got to do it. They don't, by the way. They don't. It's fucking terrible, and fuck Globo Homo. Anywho, but yeah, Lion, we can't call him cruise missile anymore, although it is appropriate because he's a fucking warhog. Anyway.
With a country that has a leader who hates us and wants to kill us, or to have a country with a leader who likes us and wants to be...
Like, to be fair, there are videos of, I think, PMs, yes, PMs in their government shouting, death to America, kill the great Satan, etc., etc.
Oh, everyone says that.
If you actually do... Now, if you go watch some memory TV and such and hear them talk about it, why they say the great Satan, that's synagogue of Satan, it's because they think that America is an Israeli puppet. It's not like they would have any kind of evidence for that, would they? You know what I mean?
We will dance again, I'm told.
I'm just saying, what we just looked at with Bibi and Trump. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Anyway. The Zodiac Killer.
Be friends with us. And
definitely the latter's better.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so that's not a complicated statement. Look, I believe you look across the world when you have countries that have dictators that are viciously anti-America. Venezuela, Maduro hates us. Would we be better off with Maduro out of power? Absolutely. I want our enemies out of power, and I want our friends in power.
I could not agree more. The question is, how do you get there?
Of course.
Yeah, that is the big question,
We have troops there.
I don't know that we've been trying to kill Maduro.
We have. And
I don't know that.
Okay,
well, catch up, Ted. Tucker's more in the loop than you are.
So we do have massive sanctions. We try to pressure him out of office.
Yeah, and there's
sure.
I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure.
We also try to kill him.
Dude, I have to say again, when I was researching the Didier Raoult stuff, the big break on the hydroxychloroquine story happened on Tucker Carlson's show, because they had one of the scientists, or no, it wasn't even a scientist. It was a crypto bro who was weirdly backing this paper out of France. Anywho, even in that situation, that was this totally thing unrelated to this, but Tucker just looks at the guy flabbergasted when he makes this claim that hydroxychloroquine. Oh, this was the other study, wasn't it? That hydroxychloroquine drops... No, this was Raoult stuff. that it has a 100% chance of, or 100% efficacy in curing COVID. And Tucker's just like, that seems ridiculous, essentially. And I was like, let's go, Tucker. Yes, you were right.
Like, COVID's completely cured by hydroxychloroquine. Then why isn't every fucking piss tank who likes gin and tonics completely fucking immune?
Exactly. But it was like, thank you. Holy shit. Like, the one guy.
I think he's realised that, like, with the rise of people like Joe Rogan, that if you talk enough shit to the regime, you can actually kind of reach an escape velocity where you can launch your own career in spite of them trying to take you down.
No, not base crypto bro, by the way, Alex Berry. One of the things, like the hydroxychloroquine stuff, I called it a microcosmic exemplar of exactly the kind of shit we're talking about with the sidesism and things being very planned. Hydroxychloroquine was essentially chosen, not intentionally at first, but because of what it is, was sort of selected to become a non-topic distraction element of COVID. Because it doesn't do anything for COVID. And so in order to create these fighting lines, though, you got people to fight about whether or not it was right to treat COVID with hydroxychloroquine when we knew about 3 months into the pandemic that no, it doesn't really do anything. We had, but it also didn't kill, it doesn't kill you. The active base ingredient, all that hydroxychloroquine is a synthetic form of quinine. Again, the shit you put in a gin and tonic. So that was all invented. The both sides, or the other, not both sides, the fighting lines drawn up about that, a fucking drug that was all fake and gay.
That said, fucking microcosmic exemplar, disappear up your own ass. I've never heard such fucking commie gibberish in all my fucking life. Get your act together, stop the pageantry, talk like a more human being, then people will take us more seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they don't put, they put almost no actual quinine in. Quinine. That's another word I keep pronouncing back and forth because I don't really know which one is right.
I think it's quinine. I was always told it's quinine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
The shit that makes tonic water glow.
Yeah, the stuff that makes it glow in the dark. Comes full circle back to Terry Davis.
He was right.
That's why he was building the computer to talk to God.
I need to switch to a fucking Temple OS. It's time to finally jump ship.
Coming from various parts of the U.S. government on that government, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Same, the country of our ancestors, Cuba. 1959, we've been working on that. Hasn't worked. So I think we both agree it's hard to do.
It absolutely is hard. And look, I think you're reasonable to ask, how do we produce that? And
yeah.
I think there's a distinction between what your objective is and the means to get it.
Because you've not done it
there
yet.
Are all sorts of things I would say we would be better off. We'd be better off in China.
America has not installed a democracy anywhere where it worked, except Japan, you could argue. But very different circumstances in Japan. Very different culture. Very different type
One
of
could
people.
argue the Philippines, but they had to do a bunch of subversion to do it.
Also, to point this out about Japan, it is a democracy. They are a one-party state. Okay? If you didn't know that about Japanese politics, functionally, it is a one-party state. Okay? Excellent democracy. Going fine for them, but Japan is not a democracy.
There is a communist party of Japan, and it goes about as well as you'd think it would, considering the last time they had a serious candidate, he got stabbed to death on live television.
Ardent, that's probably what's messing me up, is that the American and English pronunciations of it are different. And the French one is too, so I'm like listening to French. I live here, and I'm also American, so it makes my brain confused.
What's the other term for it? It's got Jesuits root.
Jesuits powder, yes.
Powder, yeah.
Yes. Anyway, Ted Cruz.
Without she there, should we invade China?
Oh, it's Jesuits! It all does all come full circle.
It comes back to the Jesuits.
Better off with no national debt.
There are lots of things,
Totally.
but it's good to say, all right, what are our objectives?
Right.
And so with the Ayatollah in Iran, saying you're for regime change, I don't view as complicated. I mean, the guy literally leads mobs chanting death to America.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not good.
Definitely not good. But the reason I think it's important to get a little more detailed about how...
Tucker Carlson is slowly turning into Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
He does look a bit like... Oh, I can't remember that actor's name.
I can never think of either. He was in Platoon as well.
Yeah.
He was really good in Platoon.
Yes.
How that might happen is because there's military action in progress, which we're supporting. And the president has said clearly, including last night, that he is focused on eliminating the capacity of the Iranian government to produce nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You are saying we need to use military force to effect regime change.
I have not said that.
Oh, I must have.
It really sounded like you did say that, though, Ted.
I have not said that once. I don't think we need to use military force to do that.
Then how do you bring about the regime change? By the way, I know how you bring it about when you don't, before you send in the actual military equipment, you foment revolutions in these countries. Your little
That's how
color
we're in
revolutions.
now. The Americans back to the fucking current regime.
Yes.
Originally in the 60s.
Yes.
It used to be a secular nation.
Yes. And yes, another important thing to keep in mind is that the religious government in Iran was installed by the Americans. Okay? So you already did a regime change and got this.
I said I support it. I would like to see it happen. You asked me how should it happen? A popular uprising. What I've advocated for. All right, let's step back.
He wants look,
You and I-
I'm just saying we get the CIA to go in and do another color revolution. I'm not saying to actively, go to war with them. Just do a little CIA gay ops.
We'll keep funding terrorists. That won't go wrong again, like it has every other time.
Right?
We've known each other a long time. I would say we agree on about 80% of the things on Earth.
For sure.
And there are a lot of things, and we can get into the nitty-gritty of foreign policy as much as you want. There are a lot of things on which you and I agree, not just a little bit, but violently.
I totally agree. I was rooting for you in your last campaign, for sure.
Well, thank you. Look, you have been heroic on the border. You have been one of the clearest and best voices in the whole country on securing the border and the absolute crisis we're facing. And in Texas, I see it and live it every day. In COVID, in fact, you may recall, in the middle of the COVID lockdown, I was out walking my dog when the whole world was shut down and we were living in lunatic times. And I called you and said, Tucker, your nightly monologues are the single best thing on television. Like I watch them like an injection.
Come on, okay. Cruz, can you stop glazing?
Can you glaze any fuck? He is trying to set this up because he knows that he and Tucker are going to disagree. This is so fucking overt, though. Could you please stop filleting him?
The idea of going on there and trying to traipse up your history with this man when you're trying to discuss a serious
so
matter
he
of
won't disagree
statehood,
with him. So he won't call him out on his shit, dude.
But this is the most. This is, by the way,
transparency. Yes.
This is a basic bitch lawyer maneuver. Ingratiate yourself to the jurors.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's a little fucking hog swill.
Look, he is a good lawyer. I've said that many times.
Yeah, but his statecraft leaves a lot to be desired.
Mm-hmm. He's acting he's in a courtroom. He's in a courtroom talking to jurors.
And what is a courtroom? It is every inch a fucking popularity contest between two bunch of wankers.
Yeah.
One group of wankers and another. I've had too much cough medicine. I've been ill the last couple of days, so I've been.
This works. Yeah, this works if you're talking people interpersonally, sort of. But he's trying to pull a Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life type of shit. I think is what I'm thinking of. But just oh, I know you. Remember the time when we did that kind of shit? You know what I mean? Trying to act like your old buddies, old pals. That's extreme lawyer behavior.
Even if you were best friends, it shouldn't fucking matter on matters of statecraft. Certainly, it should be on an issue by issue basis.
And you're talking about it on air. Everyone's gonna see too. So you look like a good guy. If he does, not only are you going to try to butter him up, but then if he's mean to you, there's a chance people will be sympathetic because, oh, you're such good friends, you're trying to be nice. It's pathetic, Ted.
You're trying to dredge up all the times you were reasonable, quote unquote, when you're being a fucking war hawk now.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off. No one wants a war with Iran apart from the shysters who pay you money.
Always been.
Get IPAC's cock out your mouth.
Always been. Look, I've liked Ted Cruz on some things, but one of my biggest issues with the guy is he is almost as much of a war hawk as someone like fucking Lindsey Graham.
Because IPAC pay him like $500,000.
Right. Yes. They get into that, I believe. Maybe they do. Yes, he gets paid a huge amount of money by AIPAC, however it's pronounced.
Again, if they're taking money from IPAC, you assume that they were on the island.
Yeah, well, he is quite literally on the Israeli payroll. Just to be clear, guys, he gets a huge amount of money from Israel.
But you get what I'm trying. No, I mean, you were standing up and speaking like, what the hell are we doing, in a way that we desperately, desperately needed. And so whether it's securing the border, whether it's the insanity of COVID lockdowns and the vaccine mandates, whether it is the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, you and I agree on a ton of stuff. The 20% where we disagree, I do think is meaningful. And it's mostly in the foreign policy space. And what I would say if you'll allow me to get a little theoretical, and then I'm happy to get specific.
Yeah.
Just
for a
spit
long
it out.
time, people have perceived two different poles of Republican foreign policy. There have been interventionists, and those have been people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, George W. Bush. And there have been isolationists. And the most prominent of those have been Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and there are others. And people perceive those are the two choices. You got to be one or the other. I've always thought both were wrong. I don't agree with either one. The way I view my own foreign policy...
I'm with you, by the way, for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I don't know who set up that binary, but there are lots of choices, actually.
I mean,
yes, thank
people
you.
People sort of naturally fall into...
Yes.
I think they want to
Remember,
classify people, and they're like, okay, you're one or the other.
Right, yes. This is always... this is a very, very common tactic to force people into the belief that all choices are dichotomistic. That there's only two options.
By the way, Ted Cruz has just traipsed up, 4 hours ago, he traipsed up a post of Tucker Carlson saying that Iran deserves to be annihilated by a post by one Jeffrey Goldberg in The Atlantic.
But it...
So I wonder what changed. Like, you can tell, from what you can tell, this interview is going to be real sour.
Oh yeah, he must be salty as fuck. But it's like that comic we looked at earlier on the stream, where it was, if you're either with me or against me. It's that kind of thing. Well, you don't like Trump saber rattling at Iran? Well, you're stuck over there with those loser SJWs, huh? God, it's pathetic. It's so fucking pathetic.
And you got to be all or nothing. And the interventionists, it seems, have never seen a country they didn't want to invade, and that doesn't make any sense to me. And the isolationists, I think, don't take the threats to America seriously.
What's the threat?
And I think that's...
What is the threat to America? What fucking threat is there to America if Iran and Israel go to war with each other?
I think the idea is that if Iran's capable of breaching Mossad security, they'll fucking chew through America's nothing. Like it's nothing.
Yeah, fucking
That'll be
right.
their
And I've seen that if Iran gets nukes, here's how they could hit America with it. You know, I've seen that shit.
I'm more worried about what fucking Israel will do if they're backed into a corner, because we know what they'll do. They said so. Like, they've been very vocal with what the Samson option is, which is if we start to lose, we will glass the planet as best we can with our entire. We literally mag dump the fucking sky with nukes.
Jesus Christ!
I don't think any state that has that as their official stance should be allowed to exist.
Yeah. But no, it's fine. It's fine, guys. Greatest ally. Our greatest ally.
Who's never fought with us on any war that they've provoked or caused or actually inflicted. Also, pay no attention to the USS Liberty.
It's not a dichotomistic option. I'm just thinking, I don't like any of these people. I don't care about any of them either. It's not a dichotomy. You don't either have to go fight and die for Israel or love Islam.
How was it that Norm put it? I'm of the genial opinion that both parties should die.
Base Norm. Too good for this world.
There are lampposts all up and down DC that lack decoration. No one has any fucking vibe anymore. Used to be you could just set up a garden of stakes near the Transcarpathian border, and it would keep all the Turks out. Or at the very least, give them something to think about.
I mean, they did that in Romania with the pig heads, essentially. Do you remember that? Was it Romania or Hungary? I don't remember, actually. I think it was Romania.
Romania.
It was Romania or Hungary. They put pig heads on sticks around the border to keep Muslims out.
There are cases in Eastern Europe of women who have started to keep pet pigs and take them for walks because it keeps Muslim.
Good. You should keep pet pigs. They're cute.
Well, dogs as well should also work. I feel like that would probably be less upkeep. Pigs are very hungry beasts.
That
said, if you do get some break onto your property, you have to worry about telling the police the day after.
These people, they don't follow any of their fucking rules. They all own dogs. Like in the West in particular, yeah. They immediately dropped that no dogs rule, and probably all kinds of other, oh yeah, brother, I know I'm not supposed to eat bacon or whatever. They do that shit too.
It's naive and it doesn't work. And so my view...
Once you import them to the West, they adopt all the Western degeneracy shit they're not allowed to get away with in their home countries.
And then they master themselves to try and make up for it.
To make up for it, exactly. Then they feel bad because they've sinned a whole bunch, and so they go fucking martyr themselves and become radicalized. There you fucking go!
Radicalization is a direct result of interaction between these fucking backwards farming civilizations and the sheer indulgence possible in the West. It is... If they are to maintain their cultural identity from back home, the pretty much necessary outcome, unless they keep their fucking noses clean when they actually join Western society, which they never do because they've got no willpower worth of fuck.
Yes, yes. No, they can't.
That's why they have burqas in the society, because they can't be trusted not to rape people.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they have that in place, because they're fucking... what did Asmongold get in trouble for calling them backward? I mean, not incorrect.
He called them an inferior culture.
Well, yes.
Guess what? Everyone, it's the Middle East. Welcome to the Middle East. Everyone's culturally inferior.
Massive amounts of inbreeding. Do you know what I mean?
If the average pregnancy has a less than 50% viability rate by itself, without
to be
all
fair,
the Western
that is
chemicals
the
and shit.
Pakistanis in England, so it is a...
Imagine how bad it is back home.
Right.
Well, they haven't got any locals to rape.
Yeah. Minnesota Fats has been a member for 29 months. Hey, thank you, man. Says, forget the lies of peace and unity, the boasts of science and progress, for in the bleak mundanity of the 21st century, there is only war. Yeah. Fuck, man. True.
Calling it all, let's face it, if white people got their fucking shit together, it wouldn't be a war. It would be a very one-sided beating.
Yep. Eldritch Saga for 2 says, Boomer-led U.S. has lost every war after World War II. Yeah, that too.
I consider myself a third point on the triangle. And what I describe that as is that I am a non-interventionist hawk, which sounds a little weird.
Oh,
but
yeah, because it's retarded,
I
Ted.
mean the central touch point for U.S. foreign policy and for any question of military intervention.
We've heard this one before.
Oh, yes. This is what... Here's what my
I'm a
enlightened
golden
centrist
mean. You can trust me.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, I'm a peace
No,
warhawk, or whatever the
Ted,
fuck
you
he
are
said.
the male feminist of politics.
Oh God, yes. What a male feminist thing to say. I'm a non-interventionalist warhawk. Okay, cool.
That's what the right wing really needed, a Linkara to call our own.
Actually, I guess.
When's the next Zodiac letter coming out, Ted? It'll be out when it's out.
When it's out. It's a very Linkara heavy episode.
Oh, look at the man. He looks like the penguin that Linkara does.
It's me, the cruise missile bringer. Fuck, I don't know.
The vital national security interest of the United States. How does this make America safer? How does this protect Americans? If it does, we should be strong. And actually, another way of conceiving what I'm saying, I'm speaking theoretically, but Reagan referred to it as peace through strength. And actually, I think Donald Trump's foreign policy is very much what I'm describing, a non-interventionist hawk, where he understands, that, and I think this is historically true, the best way to avoid war is being
strength through
strong.
weakness shit.
That weakness and isolationism, I think, encourages war. So, going back...
What? Isolationism encourages war.
This is the same mindset that brought us into World War One, when everyone thought,
absolutely.
if we have all these alliances, no one will fight each other. And then next thing you know, some Serb kills the only Austrian who gives a shit about Serbs. And then everything comes down like dominoes. And next thing you know, someone from Guernsey has to go fight someone from Germany, and it's all horrible to do. Someone gets stabbed. People lose their rations. It's an awful fucking row.
Whereas if you just don't get involved, it would not have happened in the first place. No, absolutely.
Stop reacting when people move through Belgium.
You have to be... being a non-interventionist is what causes war. Go fuck yourself with that one, Ted. Holy shit.
Back to
No one,
where you started.
If anyone's falling for this, shame on you.
Just a minute, I don't think I disagree with anything you've said, so we may not be that far apart, really.
Oh, I disagree with some shit he said.
That the single criterion for making decisions about America's foreign policy is America's national interest.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. You do need to give interviewees some slack to protect themselves, I guess.
It's hardly breaking news. The U.S.
Particularly after all the glazing. Sorry, Tucker, I'm not gonna sit through your ad. No offense.
From what you've said publicly, I think on Iran in particular, you and I disagree. And all right, let me contrast it when Obama was president. When Obama was president, you remember he talked about wanting to have military action against Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I tried to keep an open mind to it. I said, okay, let me listen to the commander-in-chief, describe to me how this is in America's interest, and what your plan is. And Bashar Assad was a bad guy. He was killing his own citizens, and he had chemical weapons that were very dangerous. I could conceive of a commander-in-chief laying out a plan for, okay, we're going to go in and say, grab the chemical weapons and leave.
And
like, I could
Ukrainians
see
do
that.
have kind of weapons that you're using.
Yes, yes.
if there was a real threat to America and there was a plan to prevent that, I could see supporting that. So I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I listened both in classified briefings and public questioning. And number one, their public defense of it was incoherent. So John Kerry said, we're going to engage in an unbelievably small strike. I think that's a quote. I'm like, okay, and to do what? At the time, there were 9 major rebel Islamic groups in Syria. I'm like, okay, I agree, Bashar Assad's a bad guy. You topple him. And one of the 9 other groups takes over. 7 of them were affiliated with radical Islamic terrorism. You had...
But you have identified the reason why this doesn't work.
Because the people you were backing were horrific Islamic warlords.
And still are, by the way.
Yeah.
So the backing of, I mean, from Israel as well and America back up multiple different groups within these countries, which means that if there's even a momentary power vacuum, it immediately gets filled with more of the same fucking people that are being funded to be anti the more primary groups. There's a big giant clusterfuck.
The CIA's money is in the hands of every side of every conflict in the Middle East.
Of course.
The whole point is just to make sure the place keeps destabilized, to make sure there's no major alliances that form, and to keep the place in complete upheaval eternally.
Yes.
And Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra. I'm like, wait, how is it better to have lunatics who hate us in charge? Assad's a bad guy, but I don't want worse guys in charge. Obama administration couldn't give an answer to that. And ultimately, when you press them, John Kerry in particular I pressed, and he would say, well, we need to defend international norms. What the hell's an international norm? I don't know what it is, but I'm not interested in putting U.S. servicemen and women in harm's way to defend one.
Amen.
So I opposed the Syria attack and opposed it vocally.
Yeah,
and it was interesting. Rand and I agreed. Rand's
international norms should,
we
sure.
agreed with that position for different reasons.
Oh, okay.
What I was asking is I think the question we should ask, how does this make America safer? The Obama administration couldn't give me an answer, so I opposed it. I think Iran is very different.
Let me ask what you think of how Syria wound up. Because Bashar al-Assad now lives in Moscow.
Apparently, they are actually backing the Iranian crown prince as the new, sovereign.
Yeah.
On this occasion. So what fucking tug of war Stone Toss me and we now in, where the Monarchist podcast is siding...
Whoa, wait! We called it!
Against the Monarchist option.
Yeah. Well, when it's installed by Western democracies.
A king bought and paid for is no king.
Absolutely.
You can't put a fucking price tag on a crown.
You cannot. That's the whole fucking point. Lucifer the Doberman for 5 says, you guys are acting like destabilization isn't the goal. Oh, wait, you do know that. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. He was taken out by our allies. And he's been replaced by a radical Islamist who was affiliated with ISIS. So is that a win or no?
Unclear.
ISIS, which was started by Israel.
Yeah. Was that a win or no, Ted? Yes. ISIS started by Israel. Okay? Win or no?
So I've consistently opposed.
But we had a secular leader in a religious and ethnically diverse country. Now we have a religious extremist, Islamic religious extremist, who's overseeing the purge of Christians and Alawites. Is that better? That doesn't seem like a win.
One of the things you said is he was taken out by our allies. I don't think that's right. Israel didn't.
Yes, it fucking is. Oh my God.
I don't think I actually agree with this first half of the statement because it would seem to insinuate that Israel isn't your fucking ally, which is they're not.
But that's not what he means, though. Unfortunately,
I know.
If only.
Maybe if we call it a dog whistle, he'll get pissed off enough that he might speak out.
Yeah, nice dog whistle, Ted.
Take Assad out. What happened? And I'll
also,
tell you,
he took IPAC money.
Bill and I heard it, so if Bill and I heard your dog whistle, that's real bad.
Yep.
Bad news bears for
I'm
you.
Wow, I can't believe that. Ted Cruz heckled
I love
tonight.
let's totally let's try to make this into a shit post about that. Get it trending. That's what he was saying. Israel's not our ally.
Top guy, Ted
Hitler's
Cruz.
top guy, number one dude, Ted the Cruz missile. He's back, baby.
Came out. So it was interesting. I had a long.
How did Assad get kicked out?
Yeah. When Netanyahu was in D.C. a couple of months ago, he and I sat down for a couple of hours.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, I'm sure he is.
We talked actually about Syria. He made an interesting point that I've not heard anywhere else, in that he said he believes what toppled Assad was when.
Oh my God! Speaking of Hitler's top guy, wait a second. Look at this. Look at there.
Dun, dun, dun. And Tucker's got the big fucking cold sore on his lip, referencing all of the STDs going around the Nazi party.
Sif and Darkstar noticed that. Now I can't unsee it.
Who could it be? And he's got the comb over!
And he's got the comb over!
Can we get a sticker made out of this?
I don't know how to do that.
Just,
oh, yeah, I do.
I'm sure YouTube has that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Nice.
Well, who invented the first cruise missile after all? It was the Germans.
What a coincidence.
Where else? In that he
fucking Ted V2s for fewer Jews.
Ted V2s for fewer Jews cruise.
Yo! Fucking Ted born to be Heiled cruise.
Took out Nasrallah. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah. They took him out. And he made an interesting point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader.
I hate when they call him Bibi.
And when
it's
they
such
took
fucking
him out, that
infantilization of a
power
fucking
base was
criminal.
supporting Assad.
Well, true.
And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis...
Well, he's infantilizing him. When I do it, it's in an insulting way. Because his first name is silly.
Blake can't do his own fucking laundry. He's worse than me.
I mean, Bibi just sounds like a dog's name. Like a small,
Pomeranian.
annoying little, micro poodle. It's like what name you give.
This is what happens when you get a micro poodle who isn't afraid of fireworks. This is what you get. You get long distance artillery.
Insane ones, the ones that are just fucking horribly violent.
They start firing the missiles themselves.
Yeah, vicious little dog.
Removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
So you don't think that, and I don't, it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details, but you don't think that Israel or Turkey or NATO ally Turkey played any role in toppling Assad?
I don't know. I don't know that they did. Look, my understanding of that, they clearly
I know
took
that
out
Turkey took a bunch. I know that Turkey bought a bunch of oil off of ISIS.
Yeah.
They don't like talking about that.
Of course not.
Decimated Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was waging war on them. So decimating Hezbollah was very good for Israel and very good for America, too. I mean, Hezbollah hated us.
You know what? I don't... this is the current thing of look how much they hate us. Look how much they hate us. I don't care. I don't care that they hate
If you want
us.
to talk about who hates us, then you do not want to start that game with Israel in the conversation.
Exactly.
We will dance again. Remember what they tell you, because they'll tell you the truth about themselves.
Fucking exactly. If we're supposed to side with Israel because the Arabs hate us, I mean, maybe ask how a lot of Israeli politicians feel about America.
I would put Assad in the category of an unintended consequence, and whether it's good or bad, I don't know.
Unintended consequence. Okay, Assad is an... okay.
As he's deposed in favor of yet another Islamist militia that will torture, rape, and murder its way across the country and sell the populace into slavery.
Yes.
Which, my question is, who's purchasing the slaves?
Yeah, good question.
Why are they just being used? Are they just being purchased by rich Middle Easterners, or are they being sold abroad?
Oh, it's abroad.
Are they related to the Wayfair scandal?
I was about to say, Wayfair's making big profits off of that.
Next time, those of you at home, go to your local missing persons and take the codes there, compare them see if Wayfair has got a fucking page for them.
Mm.
And if they do, fucking report that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Time will tell.
For the United States.
Yeah, for the United States. I think time will tell the new leadership there. You're right to be concerned. Let me step back and let's talk regime change generally. I mentioned Syria. I also oppose the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was a serious mistake. And we have a pattern, and going back to this binary of the interventionist and the isolationist. The interventionists advocate over and over again, there's a bad guy, there's a dictator who's doing bad things to his people, and they say, let's go topple him. And you have dictators in the Middle East who are killing radical Islamic terrorists. We come in and topple them. The radical Islamic terrorists take over, and they start killing Americans. In my view, how the heck does that help us?
Why are Americans there? I mean, is that what he's talking about? Because in most things, it's troop death. So he's saying they're coming to America and killing Americans? We really are just going back to 9/11? Because look, I'm not saying that terrorist attacks don't happen, but if we're believing the straight, full-on government narrative about 9/11, that this was a coordinated terrorist
Reset
attack.
the clock, boys.
You know what I mean?
Another Metal Gear game has been 100% correct. We thought it would be Raiden is 2 for 2 for his games coming true. It just took 10 years.
I know. It really fucking did.
Also 2 for 2 for fighting political figures for some reason.
Right? But
It is,
what's
in
he
fact,
talking
the
about?
good old days after 9/11 once
We're talking
more.
the good old days back after 9/11. Oh, let me get that up. Hang on, I gotta play it.
We've got Sundowner has been completely proven
Sundowner.
correct, and on top of that, Make America Great Again was first coined by our boy, Senator Armstrong. We are living in a fucking parody of real life.
I know. When did Kojima actually write this? Yeah, he had to have written Revenge.
No,
he
he
didn't.
wasn't
That was
involved in
Platinum, right? But I mean, it's
good old days after 9/11.
Yeah.
Thank you, Crispin Freeman.
Thank you.
Also the voice of Alucard. Yes. In Helsing Ultimate specifically.
Yep. But
God, I forgot about the tech.
I mean, there've been truck attacks and things like that in England in particular. But those are, well, we talked about how those people get made, which is they come from this heavy religious background, from this very conservative, if you want to call it, traditionalist religion that has a whole bunch of rules. They come to the West, they violate all of the rules because their rules are ridiculous.
Same principle as the Amish tradition. I
Yes.
forget what the Amish tradition's called.
Rumspringa.
Rumspringa. I knew it had spring in the name somewhere. But the idea is you go out into the world, you experience what life has to offer. Most of them come back, thank goodness that was horrible, I must repent and be extra special good for the rest of my young adulthood.
Which is how the Amish might deal with it, but the way that Islamists deal with it is to go drive a truck into a crowd of people, right? But what Ted's talking about here, he's acting like this has been recent, this has been reaffirmed sometime since 9/11 would be my guess, or he must be referring to 9/11, never fucking forget.
It would have been a lot easier if the Amish had done 9/11. They'd just picked up the towers, walked them down the street, and moved them someplace else.
They just moved the towers. Yeah. A good old tower reason.
Horrible human being.
Wow, Pennsylvania's got a lot of nice new architecture.
Unequivocally bad guy. But it got much worse after we toppled him. And you ended up having ISIS rise up. I mean, that was the cause of ISIS, was toppling Saddam Hussein. Same thing in Libya. You had Gaddafi, another horrible guy. That under Obama, we toppled him, and you ended up having radical Islamic warlords taking over. And so
you see how there's a pattern here?
In Syria. Okay, well, what's the plan?
Who America or her greatest ally all funded all those people who ended up filling the power gaps, by the way.
I believe the term coined by Hoi4 modders was, it's more to do with earlier era, but the post-Tabaritsky let me get the right one, because I want to make sure I get this right. Go about your business.
All right. Well, Bill looks up a Hoi4 Tabarisky wiki page.
The United States. And so I don't think, with Iran, I view Iran as very different from Iraq.
But up to that point, you say we disagree. I don't hear really anything. I'm not quite sure what happened in Syria, but I don't know, so, right? But other than that, I don't hear anything I disagree with at all.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're in a complete agreement. I wonder, though, is there a successful regime change that the United States supported that you're aware of in the last 100 years?
Sure, defeating the Soviet Union.
Here we go.
What?
So what we have here is post-Assad meta-horror neo-warlordism. That was a specific, really specific.
Whoa, say that again, please.
The quotation from the New Order is post-Tabaritsky meta-horror neo-warlordism.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what Ted described.
Though in this case, it would be, for that to be achieved, for meta-horror to be achieved, that's when the original commandments of the autocrat go out and are followed regardless of the death of the autocrat, so they just keep self-perpetuating themselves. Like, you just eternally march across the nation, just continually doing an ethnic cleansing, regardless of rhyme or reason.
Yeah. Dude, Galactus says Ted Cruz reminds me of Darkseid Phil. I wonder if they're related. Now I can't unsee it.
He does look like Darkseid. I remember thinking that when I was first introduced to the concept of the two people.
Keep coming back to Darkseid Phil, too.
Keeps happening.
And the Soviet Union collapsing, winning the Cold War.
He kind of sounds like him,
was
too.
The most consequential step
Like
for U.S. national security interests of our lifetimes.
Okay.
And
so you would classify that as a regime change that we affected?
Absolutely.
He's not as dumb as Phil.
Oh yeah, what did Ted say was the success? He said the Soviet Union. He said that was the successful proof of regime change that America has done in the last 100 years is Russia. What?
That thing that, spurred the Cold War on, which is a massive disaster that caused like
No, but
all
saying
of the
that we
most disastrous wars in America's history.
I mean, it seems to be the implication that America installed a democracy in Russia, which I mean.
I'd say so.
sort of.
Then Putin shouldn't be an issue. Then we should be backing him.
Right? That would be my question. Is what? Then why is Putin the most corrupt guy ever forever? If you successfully installed democracy
And
in Russia.
all the disastrous wars that you referred to as such, like Nam and and Korea and all these other wars that were just considered overall unilateral failures by the establishment. Those which were spurred on by the presence of the Soviet Union, those are fine.
I can't
It's okay
believe
that we
he
send most
didn't.
people
I'm actually fucking shocked he didn't go with Japan, because Japan is the obvious answer, the obvious answer to that question. When the reason why, as I said earlier, why it worked in Japan is because you're talking about a very different group of people. You're talking about high IQ, very hierarchical people, and they all still vote for one party anyway. Just the way that their non-democracy functions looks a little different from the way Russia's non-democracy functions.
What he is positing is that the preferable outcome is to have a literal mafia, the Bratva, run the country.
Yeah,
perhaps true of the Soviet bloc.
Absolutely was.
Goodness me, I mean, the bar was not set terribly high. Just get someone who will actually make sure that food flows around the country naturalistically and doesn't starve people on purpose.
Yep.
But that's still not a good stance to take when you're going to apply this to other people.
Yeah.
Because then the most likely candidate is going to be the Islamist warlords who will rape and murder and sell people into slavery. But perhaps that's your preferable outcome.
I can use the bathroom. I'll be 1 second. Would you entertain the chat for me, please? 1 second.
Hello, folks. I'm being left to my own devices. I think this is a wonderful idea. Also, I'd like to issue an apology. I was not clear last week when the mention of the dog that is racist and shoots black holes came up. I should state the exact books that those are from. The dog race and its associate class, the Faithful Companion, are both from, I believe I'm going from memory here, that is Little Red Goblin Games, Martial Pass 3. And also the Swordsman and such excellent classes. Furthermore, you want the Sakita Stellaris books for the actual discipline, and associated one which was Spark of Battle for the sparking system. Now, if anyone at home has any builds they want done for Pathfinder or 5th edition D&D, please let us know. I'll be able to rustle up some from there. Utensil, spoon wasn't available today, is my understanding. That's right, let's do anything else. Yes, Sakita Stellaris. Yeah, it's an odd one. Doesn't just do racism and black holes, it does some other stuff involving like spacing things out and leaving trails and such. I can't really get into that. I'm just here for the boost that throws black holes at people.
Oh, you're talking about the black hole thing.
Yeah, I had to clarify which books they were from, because it's not first party.
Okay. All right. Shall we get back to Ted Cruz, who doesn't throw black holes at people? But that would be cool if he did. Actually, no,
my mic is still
do
low.
horrible things with it. Your mic is still low? 1
Apparently
second. Let me change that. 1 sec.
These are all the medicines.
Wait. Okay, there we go. I turned you up to
Elric
max.
book. Out of the Elric books I've read, I'm only halfway through the series. Sailor on the Seas of Fate is pretty good.
All right, back to those.
Not very coherent, but it's kind of why I like it.
Oh yeah.
Look, you and I are in my office. We're sitting next to a painting of Reagan in front of the Brandenburg Gate.
Dude, he's so slimy.
Are the words "tear down this wall" in German, in the style of the graffiti?
Right.
And I think those are the most important words any leader has said in modern times. And if you look at how Reagan waged the Cold War, and Reagan is very much
Cruz
my
always struck
model
me as more of a
for
mission
how
accomplished kind of guy.
I actually think how Reagan took on the Soviet Union is exactly how we should take on China. Now, starting from the point, look, Reagan was not an interventionist. In 8 years, the biggest country Reagan ever invaded was Grenada. He was very reluctant to use U.S. military force.
He didn't respond after the 83 barracks bombings.
You're right. Yeah, he made the judgment that the risk exceeded the benefits. And that's a very rational decision to make. And it's reflected. Trump has made those same decisions where
The only reason
He
we're
is
going into
willing to
Iran
use
is because the regime is insanely fragile, and we can
Yes,
go in and kick
yes,
their heads in
yes.
and run away again.
Yes.
This war is almost over already.
Well, yeah, again, Israel started it.
Yeah, and it's the whole point here is to just this will be like the Yom Kippur War. It'll be like a short, sweet, to the point land grab by Israel.
Yep.
This is
Many
it's an
such
expansion.
cases. Many
This
such
is not
cases.
Afghanistan. This is an expansion of integrated Israel. This will actually stick because
Maybe
fucking Israel will make it stick.
Yeah.
If they can.
If they can, yeah.
Force. But he very much asks, okay, is this good or bad for America? Does this endanger U.S. servicemen and women or not? And one of the points about the Cold War, look, nobody in their right mind wanted a shooting war between America and the Soviet Union. The two biggest nuclear powers on Earth firing bullets at each other is really unhealthy for human beings. Same thing is true with China. Nobody with any sense says, hey, let's go to war with China. That's really dumb, and a whole lot of people could die. But the
Who's
Cold War
saying
showed
that?
we've got lots of tools short of sending the Marines.
China's not really got the
to fight against
infrastructure for a war.
Well, yeah, China's a paper tiger, first of all, but I don't know. Who the fuck is calling for outright war with China? We're clearly in an economic war.
All of Cruz's friends.
I guess so.
Oh, what's that
Warhawk
asshole with the
friends.
mustache? You know the one I mean.
Oh, I just said his name earlier. Oh, shoot.
I can never think of his name.
I just said his name. Yeah, the guy with the broom mustache. Why can't I think of his name all of a sudden? Just said it earlier tonight. Oh, well, it'll come to me in a minute, I'm sure. Oh, bother me, though.
The regime. And one of the most important tools is the bully pulpit. And
Bolton. John Bolton.
Bolton.
So
Never
when I
remember
say
that.
I support regime change, I actually think just simply laying out what the Ayatollah does. And so I spend a lot of time, I speak to Iranian dissident groups. I speak out against human rights abuses. I think shining a light on the depravity of leaders is a really powerful tool that America has.
Should we limit our activity to that?
It depends. Again,
because the U.S. government pays opposition groups, militarized opposition groups in Iran,
Thank
to overthrow
you.
the government. We've done it in a lot of different places, as you know. I'm not saying it's bad, but that's very different from what you're describing. You're saying we're making a moral case, as we did for 7 years with the Soviets. Our system works, yours doesn't.
Yep.
Well, I mean, at least thank him for bringing up that we fund this shit.
And I think we made a credible case for that, and we beat them over 70 years economically.
And that was a huge part of it.
Right. I think everyone would agree that was the main part of it. We didn't beat them in Vietnam, or North Korea.
The main part of it, but it was tied to a military buildup. So I think it was two things. It was one, the clarity. So Reagan came in, and he described the Soviet Union as an evil empire.
Right.
And all of the intelligentsia in D.C., all the Democrats, all the media, they're like, what a horrible thing to say. You can't say that. Reagan went to the United Kingdom. He said, Marxism, Leninism will end up on the ash heap of history. People were horrified. They asked him, all right, what's your strategy in the Cold War? He said, very simple. We win, they lose. And that was all viewed as sort of a Philistine simplicity. And I think it was exactly right. And laying that out,
It's fucking kayfabe. It's all
do you know the
kayfabe.
backstory behind the Berlin Wall speech?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You probably know Peter Robinson, who was
course.
the speechwriter.
Yes.
So 3 times the
It's
State
also
Department
sarcasm.
deleted those words from that speech. And 3 times Reagan wrote it back. And the State Department argued, they said, Mr. President, you can't say this. This is too bellicose. This is too provocative. And my favorite, they said, this is too unrealistic. The Berlin Wall will stand till the end of time. And Reagan said, look, this is the whole point of the speech. And less than 3 years
everyone
after
clapped.
Reagan gave that speech,
Yeah, and
the
then
Berlin
everyone
Wall was
clapped.
torn to the ground. And
This
it wasn't
fucking
knocked down by American
this thing,
army
this
tanks
kind of
and
pageantry worked in the
shoot
boomers.
missiles at it.
Yeah, just
It
talk
was
over for now. I don't
shining
care.
truth and light
But it still
that
works
tore
on
it down.
fucking
It was
boomers.
also rebuilding the American military. It was what was then
Dude.
pejoratively called Star Wars, where the Soviet Union,
This is
their economy
he's
couldn't
actually
match our
just
military
fucking
buildup and bankrupt.
bloviating.
That's an example of peace through strength.
I wonder, I mean, is there anybody who was alive in 1989 who wouldn't trade that America for the one we live in now? There's not one person, I don't think.
Oh, sure.
But, I mean, just the basic metrics, debt, suicide rate, life
fucking cold sores
expectancy.
was really fucking
I wonder
bugging me.
why,
Yeah, I know.
after that victory, America didn't thrive in the way that we thought that it would, that I thought that it would. My family was involved in that. I mean, we were very...
Because you are sold lies and bullshit about this idea that, oh, we just make everybody else democracies, then it will make the world better and we'll benefit from this. It's bullshit.
What happens when they
It's about
all vote
puppeteering
that-
states.
What happens when you run into the one state that decides to vote to get rid of your influence? Or what's happened? Another fucking regime change. Same shit every time. All
This is
the time,
puppeteering.
over and over and over again.
That's why you're not doing what we want right now. Boom, time for a regime change for you.
focused on it in my house. Like
Yeah.
one.
Just
And
like we
I wonder two
did
things.
before.
Why didn't the United States kind of declare victory and make some sort of arrangement with Russia that allowed like mutual prosperity rather than continuing a Cold War. And second, I wonder why the United States didn't get a lot better. Like, why don't we have better infrastructure? Why don't we have fewer homeless? Why do we have all these drugs? Like, if we won, why does our country look like this? I walked across Union Station this morning, as you do, I'm sure, every day. And all these people lying in the street and sleeping outside. It's like
Union Station is abysmal. There are so many homeless. Beautiful, by the way, if you've ever been to DC, to the train station there. Absolutely beautiful train station. Amazing architecture. And just covered in, I mean, all around it. And all around DC in general. But yeah, the train station is a particular hub for them to panhandle at. Homeless people. Yeah, in the capital of the U.S., right there. That Ted Cruz has to take every day to work. I don't know, he probably gets fucking, armored vehicled in or whatever.
What is that?
We're sorry to say it, but this is not a very...
Sorry, Tucker, again.
There's no doubt there are really dangerous forces in our society. Some of it is politics and some of it is culture. And one of the mistakes people make in politics is thinking everything is politics. So the political answer, which...
Everything is politics, okay? That is correct, actually. Everything is politics. When the left says that it's one of those things that they're accidentally right about. But yeah, this shit is all politics.
I happen to believe is we went
at least in
much
terms of what
further down the
he's
road
talking about, right? The shit he's talking about is politics.
of liberalism. You look at Bill Clinton, who inherited the peace dividend of the Cold War being over and moved us more to the left, and then Obama accelerated it a lot. So there are lots of bad economic policies, but I also think they're cultural things. You know, the loss of faith,
I agree with
the loss
all of
family.
That. I know what you're going to say, and I agree 100%. I bet there's not one word that I would disagree with. All I'm saying is, I think it's important to step back and ask.
But I actually think Russia has very little to do with it. So,
well, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, which is we're all sort of focused on beating our adversaries abroad, but what is...
But please bring up that he said Russia was the one good example. I mean, he did a little bit, but he fought back, pushed back against that. But Russia's the one good example, and yet Russia's democracy is a failure, and Putin's a tyrant. Both of these things cannot be true at the same time.
Victory worth if our own country becomes what it is now. And maybe we're spending a little too much time focused abroad, and not enough time focused on the people sleeping outside Union Station.
Yeah.
So, look, I absolutely think we need to focus at home, emphatically, and we need to focus on prosperity. We need to focus on reducing the debt, reducing spending, empowering.
Yeah, and you know what's not going to help with any of that? Going to fucking war.
People low tax.
I mean, yes, some
we'll
war economy.
It'll be 1 week of actual warfare and a fucking another decade of upkeeping a failing Arab state.
In terms of the debt, you get war economy shit. I guess a little bit is you could maybe say, but the amount of debt, because he brought up the debt specifically. The debt will fucking skyrocket. Of course. I mean, the whole, I guess a lot of the concern with the national debt is...
Are you ready for Iran to turn into a fucking dumping ground for all the Gazans so that they can be shoved into a border like Pakistan?
Yeah, into a whole country-wide ghetto instead of just the West Bank? There you go.
Small businesses, American free enterprise. It's the most powerful force for fighting poverty the world has ever seen. I'm 1,000% there. I also recognize it is a dangerous world, and part of the responsibility of leaders, part of President Trump's responsibility, is to keep America safe.
Yeah,
so let's go back to where we started.
But can I ask you, you've been in the district a long time in D.C., so have I, and the city's way more dangerous, and Congress runs this.
No, it's a complete crap hole.
So I'm saying, like, no Iranian's ever going to kill me, but I could get carjacked here. And I just don't understand how the Congress could run this city and focus on the dangers of Iran when the city is like garbage. It's garbage.
But Congress doesn't run the city. We could. But
oh my God. That's not his fucking point. Stop being pedantic. His point is that America has a lot of fucking problems, and finances and financial issues are a major part of that, including the debt, which just doesn't matter. And wartime spending, yes, it comes from the increasing in debt. All that is true.
Okay, his question, do you think that they want to make Iran into a principality so that they can get
puppeteer it?
No, not just that they can puppeteer it, they can get a claim in Iraq?
Yeah, probably.
That's the major sticking point, was that Saddam Hussein warred with the Iranians very extensively.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility.
By the way, I should suspect that the Americans were busy selling the Iranians arms in that time period, considering that my granddad spent time in a gulag under the control of Saddam Hussein due to stuff such as this.
Let's try to get to the 30-minute point. Looks like there's a break right about there, and then we'll end it there for the evening. I think, and then we'll...
Let's just hammer on home and just keep it rolling even if we are talking.
all the good clips and segments by next week will have come out. Again, this just dropped right before we began.
But let's just keep going. Just even if we talk.
Yeah, well, we'll get through to the 30-minute mark. All right, let's see what anything else interesting happens, because I've heard there's gold in this.
See, it's in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution, but they've given home rule, so it's a Democrat.
You can take it back. You control the Congress.
I'd vote for it, but it is a question of math.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, why? How can people ignore? It's like if my own kids are drug addicts, but I'm focused on my neighbor's kids. It's like I'm neglecting my own kids, and there's a sense in which the Congress is neglecting the country that elected them in favor of this relentless.
Yes, but the boomer mentality is about enriching yourself and caring about yourself and not caring about your kids and countries. It's I enjoy my way of life, and part of that involves America's association with Israel, the Holy Land. And so we must protect Israel at all costs, and fuck everybody else, and fuck all the Americans that it hurts, and fuck all, fuck the children, not in that kind of way. I didn't know how to say this, but just fuck everybody, fuck the future, because
we know the reasons.
My feelings about this shit.
We know the numbers.
Yeah, that's true. It's full of them. Yeah, that kind of, yeah.
Suppose you don't know if you are of the descent of the tribes. It doesn't matter what crimes you're guilty of abroad, you will be allowed into Israel. Unless you are going against their specific government in charge at the moment.
Other people's problems. That's the way it feels as an American.
Look, there are lots of problems in America that we need to fix. Why is D.C. a pit? Because you have a mayor and a Democrat city council that won't let police officers arrest bad guys. And in every city you see across the country, whether
We are taking a moment from discussing the new Iran-Contra so that Ted can whinge about the city planning that the Democrats have for the city he works in.
Then do what Tucker suggested and you admitted you are capable of doing, and take the fuck over DC. Just do it then, motherfucker. But no. Just he is doing everything possible to not answer the fucking question.
If America just bit the
slimy
bullet,
little lawyer.
If America just bit the fucking bullet and said, we decide that Iran is more trouble than it's worth and we're just annexing it, people would respect you a lot more if you just fucking annexed the nation.
Instead of trying with these pathetic excuses, yes.
But what will actually happen is Iran will get a regime change over to the new prince. The prince will annex Iraq as part of their ancestral claim, and then that will be incorporated into Greater Israel thereafter.
Yeah.
Depending on how long it takes them to subjugate the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
And then Iran's military will be used as a secondary puppet for Israel's expansion.
Francisco, if you have Democrats, we see the LA riots where they won't let people be arrested. All right.
Then why not work in regime change here?
Yeah,
I'm not used to bully pulpit.
I do. What do you think I do every day?
I've never seen a Republican senator stand up and say, I just walked to work this morning over people dying of drug ODs. We're going to shut this place down unless they fix it. They're mad about Putin. Like, what did Putin do to Washington? Nothing.
Look, in terms of regime change, let's talk this week. The riots in L.A., I've made very clear that the cause of those riots are...
Okay.
Wait, but he's not... He just moved back to this riot stuff. He didn't answer Tucker's question whatsoever.
He's not interested in actually discussing the Iran issue.
Poor lawyering, though, Ted. It's not convincing.
He's probably used to being on multiple topic
he doesn't have good defenses against the right, because Tucker is being very laid back, and he's the one who set the friendly tone here, so you have no one to blame but yourself for that one, Ted. Because he is much better when he's on an offensive. I think this is his weakness. He set the tone as friendly and congenial, and that's not working for him.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, and when you elect communists who hate America, who stop law enforcement from arresting criminals, you get...
They voted for them, Ted. That grand democracy shit you like. The people voted for the commies. What are you going to do about that? You want to do something undemocratic? You want to do regime change in the U.S.? Seriously? As in what? Install rulers for dem states and cities? Because that's what regime change is, isn't it?
What you get on the street.
Man, I agree.
My in-laws are Californians, and they're wonderful people. Heidi grew up on the Central Coast of California. And I remember I was texting with my mother-in-law, and I think I sent her a video of criminals going to a store and just looting in California. And her response, she said something like, well, this is really terrible. I wish we could, it's a shame we can't do anything about this. I said, yes, you can. Go in and arrest them. Throw their butts in jail, put them in handcuffs, 100%. And it stops.
Exactly.
And so...
They don't want it to stop. So they're not going to stop it. This keeps the regime that is in power in California benefits from this, so they're not going to stop it. So what you are advocating for, I guess, is installing new government in California. Which isn't very democratic of you. And wouldn't work anyway. Like, I mean, maybe you install a king, but you can't install kings.
We know how to fix these things. And
you could do it with magic,
DC I think DC voted, if I remember right, 92% Democrat. Democrat policies don't work, and they destroy every community that they are in charge of.
Then why don't Republicans assert their constitutional authority over the city? Don't they control the Congress?
Yes, I'd be all for it.
Who's against it?
Susan Collins is really vocally against it. So on questions of home rule, so for example, let's take an issue you and I care a lot about, the COVID lockdowns. I had a couple of years ago in the middle of them. DC was proposing, the DC school district was proposing throwing out of school any child that was not vaccinated. And at the time, if I remember correctly, it was something like 40% of the African-American students in DC were not vaccinated. So we're talking about literally throwing out 40% of the kids in public school. And so I had a vote on the Senate floor to say, look, they can't throw kids out of school for this. And we ended up having a big argument, and part of the argument was home rule, where there was, and Susan was the most vocal Republican. That's like, no, we have to let DC run. And I'm like, why? Constitution gives us the power to do it. And it ended up, by the way, every single Democrat, all of them.
Again, this is so pointless to the actual fucking
being able to throw out.
It's, again, literally just Ted Cruz whinging about his local constituency that he works in.
I mean, Jesus.
Brought in to discuss a matter of foreign policy.
Yes, we're supposed to be talking about Iran, and in order to avoid answering Tucker's actual question, which is that why should we care about Iran, he is going on about this.
Once again, I couldn't agree with you more. But can you feel the frustration of people, including your voters?
Can you please get us back on point, Tucker?
At the emphasis on foreign countries and the threat we supposedly face, a lot of which is fake, obviously. Over the kind of slowly unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country. The dollar spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do with. The endless support for Israel, very expensive. When people are literally buying groceries.
Hey, welcome to Squire, Lucifer the Doberman. Thank you, man.
Nothing against Ukraine or Israel or any other country.
All right, let's stop. You said the support for Israel very expensive. How much?
Oh no! Oh man! Yeah, we'll have to come back to this because I can already see where this is going. What do you mean the support for Israel is very expensive? It's extremely expensive, Ted. You receive money back from the U.S. government that it gives to Israel, probably. Like that money's all been changed around. So of course,
IPAC is a money laundering operation. Same thing with fucking Ukraine.
Now, Tucker, you've gone too far. You're attacking my rice bowl.
How much support do we give to Israel?
Well, you tell me. You vote for it.
Yeah, it's about $3 billion a year. Was
that the only assistance?
Yeah, we just have military assistance.
Now you can't
Israel
see the
does not
tax.
have additional assistance. There's an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and it's $3 billion a year.
So what is it costing to support the bombing campaign to protect Israel right now from Iran?
So I don't know right now, but I'll tell you this. Let's go back to the touchstone on foreign policy. American interest. Our support, our military support for Israel is massively in America's national security.
Buying down $200 grand a day.
Well,
before we can make independent judgments about whether or not that's true, and I'm certainly open to it, I think we need to know what it costs. So what's the annual cost of defending Israel? Do you know?
$3 billion a year.
No, that's the aid. But I mean, the cost.
Yes, that's the aid. What is the military funding in terms of the trade deals and such?
For example, the cost of U.S. personnel there, the cost of moving ships to the region, which we're doing right now,
the total
cost of moving tankers to the region, all of that. Do we know what the cost is?
So look, the last week, I don't know, and there's some lag when the administration, under the Constitution, the commander-in-chief has control.
Okay, I'm going to be very harsh on Ted here. I have listened to Ted talk a lot. He is usually very good on numbers and figures, usually. So if he has no idea what the number is here, which should be, it's certainly not $3 billion. I'll put it that way.
Well, the armed forces, and so President Trump has made some decisions that we'll know the cost over time, but I don't know the last week. I don't have visibility on that. The annual cost is $3 billion. It's a 10-year memorandum of understanding, and that's the principal driver of the cost. But let me make a point. We get massive benefits from Israel. Israel shares the Mossad is one of the best intelligence sources on the planet. The enemies of Israel, the people who hate Israel,
we get back
oil,
IDF fucking propaganda from them.
So the oil, which is not just the area of Israel, but also what they launder out from ISIS.
Well, the first thing he has said is what we get back is the IDF. Okay.
Which has there ever been an occasion where they've been deployed as regular troops during one of the conflicts in the region, like Iraq or Afghanistan?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to my knowledge either, unless they are very close-mouthed about it. But I imagine if Israel had anything like that to boast about, they would sing it from the heavens, and we would be demanded to acknowledge it.
I'm sorry. Paskov gives the number at 3.9 billion. The problem is that if you're asking NEI or something for that question, even if they came out with a number in some other way, I guarantee that there's so many types of funding that go into it that are not just the overt explicit aid. It's one of the things that you really have to, that it's very difficult to dig into. Like, look, when I was doing this Raoult research and looking into where all the sources of funding were, and by the way, the French government couldn't figure out where they were getting their fucking money from over the course of like 4 years of investigation. So not all of the money. And the thing is that it'll be filed a different way, or it'll be for different things, or it'll be remuneration for something in that case. But it's going to be difficult to really. You can do it usually with some accuracy, but not always, because then it'll be funneled through other things for other reasons that end up actually paying for something else. If you get my meaning.
They all hate us. It's almost a perfect overlap. And so if we tried to recreate, if we're just trying to defend America, we tried to recreate the national security benefits of our alliance with Israel, it would cost, I don't know, 30 billion, 300 billion.
So can you elaborate? And again, I'm going into this as someone who's always liked Israel and still does. But I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask rational questions about what the benefits are.
Good.
Which he did not. He really didn't. Yeah, he basically just said Mossad. The IDF, Mossad, that is our benefit. He didn't give fucking much of anything, did he? That was pathetic.
So what do we get from Israel? We get a team of murderers who can rampage around the Middle East at our will. Anyone who pisses us off, we can just stuff in a black bag or drop a missile on them from our handy-dandy deniable assets.
Well, that's worth going to war over.
Your ability to have
that's worth
having a nation state of mercenaries that you can just send after anyone who displeases you.
That's worth sending
there are known
innocent,
psychotic fucking
American men over into a fucking sandblasted hellhole to die over for intelligence.
Because Israel refuses to pick a fight they can actually win by themselves.
For intelligence from a country that has a let's be clear, for intelligence from a country that has a vested interest in inciting America to go a war against their local enemies, which is everyone in the region.
Also, why can't... Okay, I realize there's a clear difference in stature between the two nations. Iran's enormous compared to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the sheer amount of hardware and, like, first of all, why are we picking a fight when we already have a one-sided genocide on Gaza going on? So we're escalating to a two-front war at this point.
Yeah.
Despite the fact there's no front.
Yeah.
There is no shared border between Iran and Israel.
No, which again, this is ridiculous. But that was a pathetic answer, Ted. We're almost at the end of this too.
You share all of this intelligence with us?
Well, probably not, but they share a lot. They don't share all of our intelligence.
Do you think the intelligence they share with you is accurate?
With them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other, and I assume all of our allies spy on us.
That's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian.
Oh, you're not naive. Okay. No, you're not naive. You're intentionally being obtuse about this shit, Ted.
You don't think humans are all... Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize...
That's the problem. If you want to, have peaceful relations with a country, good, have peaceful relations with other countries, but once you start paying... Because they are all spying on each other. That shit's not going to end, okay?
No.
But... You are protecting and paying the country to spy on you, essentially.
Now, let's face it, we're paying, the West is paying Israel so that Israel can pay the money back to our politicians who convince us it's worth paying Israel.
Yeah.
The same scam as in Ukraine. Everything else is just set dressing.
Yep. I don't think Tucker is going to push him on suspenders because the segment's about over.
Our politicians are basically complete set dressing in and of themselves. They're just, they're just something to placate to keep this ball rolling.
Yep.
Is that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us, and I'm not...
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that, and
by the way,
I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know. Hold on, I want to know your attitude. Yeah. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
I mean, you said the only thing that you gave to justify this was the intelligence we get from Israel. They also use their intelligence agencies to spy on us. That's the one thing. Yeah, dude, Tucker cooked his ass.
It is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clear...
But I just want to stop on the spying for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the President of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry, I know why you want to.
Whoa! He called Israel a client state.
Ooh.
Interesting.
That one's going to be what gets him in trouble.
Very interesting.
Well, I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure. I would say everything's the opposite.
Yeah, interesting.
I want to be spied on by you. It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
Sure, I would say don't spy on us. They're going to anyway. And by the way, the Brits are, the Canadians are. Like, I don't think...
Well, I'm not for that at all. I think it's just...
What, they're going to do it, but how much
You realize that's
money,
worse, right?
Yeah, but how much money in aid and military and shit do we give, essentially, to the Canadians every year? I mean, I'm sure there is some, by the way.
Now, is there some utility in having a client power spy within your own nation? Yes, you can use it to weed out domestic traitors, but you would have to have a very close relationship with that nation and not have it be the one that fired on the USS Liberty and stole a bunch of your nuclear devices and keeps trying to start false flags in your nation, as is well regarded and has been caught multiple times.
Yeah.
Paying off Iranian nationals to bomb schools in the US.
Did Tucker call Israel a client state, or did he imply America was the client state in that?
I think we know the truth of the matter.
Well, yeah, but
I think he was trying to be glib.
Yeah, maybe. Interesting. Sorry, I'm stuck on that.
Disgusting, but we don't actually pay their... You know, we're not their most meaningful sponsor. We're not sort of paying for the operations of the British government.
I gotta say, and this is, it's weird. We're talking about isolation. It's the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel...
Well, I don't think I'm obsessed with
Israel.
But I think a lot of people are, and like the question,
it's an ad
Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess, no, I'm hardly the one who's... I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from...
Bro, hit him with a couldn't be me. Bro might as well just hit Ted with a did it feel good though.
Did it feel good though?
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually...
Do you know anyone like
that? AIPAC raises a lot of money for me. Where do they raise the money from?
People who
do you know anybody like that?
Yeah, do you know anybody like that?
So it's not the PAC itself, but their individual members.
You can tell I'm looking at him, he's fucking scared now.
Friendship
is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC.
No, AIPAC is okay. I mean, AIPAC is an American lobby that lobbies exclusively for Israel. So yes, it's a foreign lobby. Come on.
AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political
Yes,
Action.
we know what AIPAC stands for.
Lobby for.
So, to be honest,
they call it a bipartisan pro-Israel.
No, he just got him though. Just think of that. So what did they lobby for?
AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action.
What does it lobby for?
To be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen,
I can tell you what it lobbies for. I have a guess. Ted. I think it's Israel.
Who could it be now?
To Congress 13 years ago,
yes,
with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, they're folks online who are...
You could tell there was a moment there. He's about to get up. There is a moment there where he was like, should I just fucking go for it?
I think he has to.
But
hang on, I'm
for
so
that
curious
pause, I guarantee you, for that pause alone, he will get dragged into a back room somewhere and fucking lambasted.
Let's try to finish the AIPAC stuff, because half of this is an ad, so it shouldn't be that long, or at least like a minute of it is. because I'm very much enjoying.
Rob would better go ahead.
I know. Let's go.
AIPAC.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No,
yeah. Oh, you seem very uncomfortable. You seem very uncomfortable, Ted. You are.
Why are you running?
Why? Everybody with Ebola knows Kung Fu.
Of AIPAC, and AIPAC.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies.
No, you just said you couldn't. You said not a lot. You said what did they lobby for? And you said not a lot.
Please tell us in detail.
Yes. Well, he already answered it. Not a lot.
At the very least, you should be able to tell us what they asked you to do.
Mm-hmm.
On behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh.
Excuse me, hang on a minute. Real quick as we finish this up, I have to really quickly fix something here. Right, there we go. And okay. Excuse me.
What do you think you've done something?
Don't worry about it. Whoops. Okay.
Oh, okay. America has thousands of colleges and universities, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are basically just scams. It's one of those things nobody really wants to talk about, but everybody on some level.
Sorry, I'm skipping that.
Position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu.
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC,
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets. No. I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not.
No.
It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay. So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf.
Oh no! I realized it wasn't working because I had it up in the other tab or in the other what do you call it? Sorry, in the other window. Brave instead of. Damn it! There we go. Now you should be able to hear it. It made this very amusing. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
Half of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No. And
how much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If
do you think there's any coordination between?
Do you think the American-Israeli Political Action Committee might have something to do with Israel?
I don't know.
This has descended into a Norm Macdonald bit.
It really has.
Or more U.S.-Mexico trade? Would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if.
So I'm not mad about that.
Norm's up in the sky like Mufasa. He lives.
He's just laughing.
Like a lot of those countries, including.
Okay, but AIPAC or Americans?
But hold on.
Yeah, but it's the American-Israeli pack.
Okay, Shademaster chimed in with $5. With the amount of dollars we send to Israel, I'm offended the IDF is not mobilized to defend our southern border from Mexican cartels.
They should be for the amount of money we give them, yeah.
Tons of Americans.
Yeah, where's the Iron Wall?
Yeah. Iron Wall when?
I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah,
and
why aren't
they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
Okay, they're not a foreign lobby.
No, they're not. And this is there's a fever swamp. Look,
it's not a fever swamp. These are very reasonable questions, and you've accused me of being obsessed with Israel, which I'm not.
I actually haven't. I've said
and being feverish about it, which I'm not at all. I'm just
the slight lull in the music needed me.
Yeah.
Spot when you ask it, and I don't know why.
So, Tucker, all right, let's go back.
He bounces my items.
I was first elected to the Senate in 2012. I came in Obama's second term, and I actually saw AIPAC be badly wounded in the way they never came back from. And the second term is when Obama did the Iran nuclear deal. And the Iran nuclear deal, I think, was catastrophic. And AIPAC went all in lobbying against it.
Yeah.
And they failed. And I was the leading opponent of the Iran nuclear deal.
Oh, I know. They definitely failed, yes.
They failed, and what happened, the Obama White House told every Democrat, when I got here, there used to be real bipartisan support for Israel. That has
Oh, my God. Oh, if only we go back to the good old days after 9/11.
Fucking well-loved bipartisan Holden Blood Feast rides again. He really fucking does. Just go back to murdering couples.
There you
Ted,
go.
it would be more dignified.
Oh my God. Okay, we're almost there.
As mentioned earlier, like this, I have not seen Ted involved in a murder like this since the Zodiac days.
I know, man.
She's on the other foot now, Ted.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel about that? She's on the other foot, indeed.
Disappeared. And it's the Obama nuclear deal that caused it, because the Obama White House told every Democrat, pick. You either stand with Israel, or you're a Democrat and you stand with the Obama White House. And almost every single Democrat member of Congress said, I'm a Democrat first, to hell with Israel. And then I watched as AIPAC, every one of those Democrats got reelected, and AIPAC did nothing about it. And it dramatically reduced AIPAC's influence.
I agree. I watched it happen.
And by the way, I told AIPAC, I said, look, the analogy, if the NRA was supporting a bunch of politicians and cared about the Second Amendment, and you had politicians that vote to confiscate people's guns, and the NRA turned around and raised money for the people who voted to confiscate guns, you know what? No one would ever care what they said again.
So you're making the case that AIPAC
And
is
they
as
did.
powerful as people
And
say.
they do, and we don't.
Yeah, and we don't, yeah.
I completely agree with you. I've watched that, and I'm not making the case that AIPAC is all powerful and they're running everything and putting fluoride in the water. I'm not making that case at all, because that's not true. I'm only trying to get to the question of what
Okay,
AIPAC
that's all right, let's see.
I don't think you're being straightforward about it. AIPAC
No, he's
is
not.
lobbying on behalf of the interests of a foreign country, and they're not registered. And you're saying, no, that's not true. You're saying that they don't coordinate with the Israeli government.
I coordinate.
They talk. Israel will be the 51st state.
God, yeah, dude,
No.
slippery, slimy little lawyer, dude.
Okay, how about this?
Coordinate.
Let's go through with the plan I outlined previously. Gaza to be inducted as a state by virtue that the president, Trump, is, I believe, 47th descendant of Muhammad.
Yeah.
Like,
Confirmed.
There's like one other person and the King of Jordan who are more closely related to Muhammad himself. So
Allegedly.
he could just claim caliph over Gaza and incorporate into American
There you go.
regionality.
There you go.
As something along the lines of like Puerto Rico, where it's like a protectorate.
Right.
And then the whole situation will ameliorate itself because it will
Yeah.
not have to.
Just make him king of Gaza. There you go. Eldred Saga for 2 says, why can't Israel be the
retirement
51st state? Yep, there you go.
But Sam, I don't know
Because
what
Gaza
they do.
is the retirement caliph of our current president.
But why don't you care? Isn't it meaningful if a foreign
Yeah.
government...
Hey, I talk with Israel all the time. I
Of
talk
course
with,
you do.
with-
Of course
Yes,
you
that's
do.
the problem. That's the problem, Ted.
But the law
This
is...
entire thing is just giving
Comical?
more rope for Ted to hang himself. That's such a difficult thing because he's got so little neck.
been prosecuted under this law that if you are lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, you must register. That's it. It's really simple. And I don't know why, if I'm working from Malaysia or Qatar or Belgium, and I'm working
Malaysia,
on behalf of this
interesting
government's
choice.
interest through a group of
Yeah,
Americans
Sean.
who are representing the friendship between those two nations, I have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And if I don't, I can go to jail. And people have gone to jail, including people I know. So I don't understand why we don't just be honest and say they're lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, they're coordinating with the government. You know that that's true.
Sorry. What? Say
Didn't
again?
Dinesh D'Souza get caught up in some shit? 'cause of
Yes. Who was he taking money from? I don't. It wasn't from another country though.
that? He took too many from
He took
somewhere.
no. It was campaign donations. He took
Yeah.
like too much more than he was allowed. I think was what it was.
Yeah.
That is not only not true, that is false.
They're not coordinating with the Israeli government?
Do you know how
Dude.
AIPAC raises money?
What?
For elected
Ted
officials, like what they do, like
Dude.
what the actual mechanics is?
I mean, they go to people who are sympathetic to Israel and raise money and then send it to candidates who agree with them.
Huh?
No, sorry, the cough medicine's repeating on me.
Oh no.
So what they'll do is, so in my last election, AIPAC endorsed me. And they'll host a fundraiser. And they'll host a fundraiser in Dallas or Houston or
That's where
Atlanta
you
or
get
New York or LA.
tens
And they'll
of
do a fundraiser,
thousands,
and they'll get
millions of
someone who
dollars.
hosts it, and it's usually a business owner, lawyer, doctor, someone who hosts it. And you get typically at an AIPAC fundraiser.
Just for a fundraiser. There's nothing else implied by that. They're just raising money to support you out of the good of their hearts, right? No other reason.
No.
Not that you'll go on Tucker Carlson's show and vehemently defend regime change in Iran.
It's not like there's a system that the Young Turks already rumbled back in 2015
Yeah.
when they mentioned the use of chits
Yep.
for owed favors in amongst lobbying groups.
Uh-huh.
I love being able to drag out the left's
Yeah, I know.
own
It's funny.
coverage
Right?
to hang a traitor on our side.
Oh, hell yeah.
50, maybe 100 people who live in that city,
right?
Who care about a strong U.S.-Israel relationship,
Yeah.
and if they have 50 people, each of them writes a $1,000 check, and you raise $50,000.
Yeah, I've been to an AIPAC fundraiser. I know what it looks like.
But that is not. And by the way, there's no representative of the Israeli government there. You have when you're in Dallas.
Oh
you're
my
meeting
God.
with
False and silly conversation. I know all this. I know.
Thank you. It is a false and fucking silly fucking conversation to be having in the first place. We know what this. Oh well, it's not through official channels. Same shit with the more grander funding, militaristic funding going through 1 billion different sources. We know what the fuck is happening there. Your influence is being bought and paid for. I think that's actually a good place to. This is perfect. I won't forget where we're at because we were at 40 minutes 20, so pretty close to the meme number. So either if we come back to this later or whatever, I know where to continue to watch. Also, if I want to pull some clips from it for next week, but it is 12:40 here nearly, so I think we're gonna head out for the evening. I know Bill's tired. Loose for the Doberman for 2 says, who was Tucker nicer to, Cruz or Putin? I think he's been nothing but nice to Cruz here. Cruz is just making himself look
giving
retarded.
Him layups to save himself. This is like the iDubbbz and Sam Hyde thing.
Yeah.
Like Cruz is here thinking I'm fucked. He's gonna drag me over the coals, and Tucker's like, please justify yourself.
Yes.
I'm begging you.
Try him up with anything.
I'm giving you so
to
many
absolve
excuses
your
bullshit.
position.
Please bullshit me, but not in a way that's obvious, because then I'll get called out for it. I need to just give me enough information that I don't look shit if I agree with you.
Right.
Please.
Something.
That's why I think that's why Tucker's so angry, because he's like, I know this for a fact that that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Just please, something that I can allow to convince me.
Right. Lying right to his fucking face. Anywho, guys, I don't know, same time next week, for sure. I don't know if we'll maybe we'll stream again. I don't know what's going on with Spoon, but may stream again. Maybe we could cover the rest of this. Don't know. But anywho, either way, we'll see you next Wednesday. This thing just dropped, so I'm sure a lot of you probably go watch the rest of it in the next couple of days anyway. Either way, cheers. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Hello, Bajon.